Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'll call the meeting of the Johnston County Board of Commissioners to order, June 1st, 2026, 10 a.m. Welcome to everyone here that's with us this morning, and also those who are joining us at home and watching on our YouTube feed. We're happy to have you here with us. And it's customary that we start out with an invocation, and I've asked Commissioner Godwin to lead us in that. And our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by American Legion Post 132 in Smithfield. I'd like to invite those gentlemen and ladies in this morning. And if you choose to do so, please stand with us as we deliver our invocation.
Let's pray. Father God and Creator, we thank you for the blessings of life. We thank you for the blessings of being in Johnston County, North Carolina today. We ask for your blessing on all that have assembled here today to be about the county's business. The board asks for wisdom, guidance, courage, and grace. Forgive us our shortcomings, for it's in your holy name we pray. Amen.
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 Stand high. Present arms. Please let join us in the Pledge of
to the
Allegiance.
flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for your service. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Before we start to move through the agenda, I'll remind everyone of the board's priorities that have been set for several years in a row now. There's educational funding, infrastructure, financial stewardship, land use, public safety, and our county employees. First item on the agenda is the approval and discussion of the agenda. If you've had an opportunity to look through that, this time I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve it as presented.
Have a motion, to hear a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda is set. Next item is a consent agenda. We have 6 items on that. The approval of minutes from the May 4th, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. meetings. Celebrate Cleveland committees requesting a temporary road closure. Minutes, transcription, service, contract extension. We have budget revisions for LEO separation of the sheriff and the jail. We also have appointments to Child Fatality Prevention Team, Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, Firefighters Relief Fund Board of Trustees, Local Emergency Planning Committee, Nursing Home Adult Care and Community Advisory Board, Social Services Board, and Voluntary Ag District Advisory Board, as well as the taxes, releases, and refunds from April 16, 2026 to 5/15, 2026. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Just a question, Mr. Chairman. None of those appointments required a vote. Is that right?
They do not require a waiver.
Okay.
No, sir.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I have a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
These positions don't require a vote because we've got a whole lot more positions available than we've got applicants. And the applicants who did apply were, seem to be acceptable candidates, but we've got a lacking of people that are applying for these boards. I just want to encourage our citizens out there to participate in these various advisory boards.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Next item is public comment. Any audience members that wish to address the board on items not already on the agenda may come forward at this time. Please state your name and general location or township of residence in order to balance the need or desire for citizen to input. We would ask you to keep your comments to about 3 minutes. This is an opportunity for the board to listen to you, and this time I'll open the floor. Does anyone like to speak at public comment? Any emails? All right. Very good. Then we'll move on to item number 4, which is the public hearing for fiscal year 2026-27 Johnston County proposed budget. And I'll open the public hearing at this time. Call on our county manager to comment and request for budget message to be entered into the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members.
Good morning.
This public hearing is required by North Carolina general statutes, and I think there's several groups here today to speak to you. And if you have any questions of me, I'll be glad to hop up as needed, sir.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
First one I'd like to call on is Johnston County Public Schools. Our chairwoman, I believe there she is in the hallway, Ms. Lynn Andrews. Dr. Pierce I saw earlier, and they've got a group with them. And I know their finance director, Stephen Britt, is joining us online as well. And so welcome, Ms. Andrews.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Just getting all my stuff together.
There you go. That's all right.
It's good to see you. As you said, we do have Stephen Britt online, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, joining us all the way from Texas as he serves his country
Absolutely.
and this county. I have with me today, I have Kim Young, who is Stephen Britt's right-hand person. I also have Richard Carr, who is our PIO person, and our superintendent, Dr. David Pierce, and they're welcome to come up here if they want to. I just wanted to begin. You have the information, correct? Do they have the teacher salary? Do we have that? Okay, all right. Again, I know I am here for the same reason that you are here. We're here for the citizens of Johnston County. Our focus in public education is the next generation. And so we are here today on behalf of our teachers and our staff and the next generation. As you begin looking at the information that you have in front of you, you can go to the next slide if you like. Oh, I do it? Sorry. I'm not used to that. You can, they don't give me the thing much. Okay. You can see this is information that you have seen before, but you can see that we're the 7th largest, our student population, our 4-year graduation cohort, everything that is compared to the state that we do in proficiency and in these areas, we're always above the state. We always will be above the state. But our graduation rate, 92%, 92.5. You see we have 5,300 employees and almost 4,000 of them are teachers. So you can see how important that is to us. Also, this is just a recap. We rank 30th in the state in academic overall performance. We will be higher than that, hopefully soon. You can see our composites, how they have grown, how they also are above the state average. We have increased the percentage of our schools that have earned A, B, or C from 89% to 93%. And then 69% of our schools have earned an A, B, and statewide it's 69% versus our 93%. 75% of our schools met or exceeded growth. This is a real celebration here. 15% of Johnston County Public Schools are in the top 20% in the state. There are 2,758 schools in North Carolina, and we have 15 of them in the top 20%. That means they're in the top 500. We also have you can see 7 of our schools are in the top 10%. So when you talk about that, they're in the top 270 schools in the state of North Carolina. Remember, 2,758 public schools in Johnston County. That includes traditional and charter. Our graduation rate, as you can see, is 92.5 compared to the state's 87.7. Again, we've made a great move forward from 35th in the state in academic performance to 30th. We plan to continue to move up. Again, that's just a reiteration of 75% of our schools met or exceeded growth. Again, 15 schools in the top 20% for growth.
Excuse me, Lynn, is that spread across all grade levels, that 15?
Well,
Elementary versus high school?
yes. That's all schools. And it's the students that are that are assessed. That's how the growth is done through our state assessments.
Right.
Both elementary, middle, and high. Here is a good history. You have seen this previously, but we've now added on to the new one. You know, when we talk about funding, when we come to you for funding, we're coming to you for the students in Johnston County Public Schools, but we're also coming to you for funding for the charter schools. Because local dollars must be dispersed to the charter school students who live in Johnston County. And so last year, the 25-26 year, if you compare it to the 24-25, the charter school students' numbers dropped. There were less kids in charter schools in Johnston County than there had been the previous year. We project that next year, that bottom line, 41,368, we project that will be about our numbers. So you can see that it's saying somewhat consistent, but again, when we come for funding, we're coming for funding for the projection of 41,368 students. 37,132 is ours. So that's just helpful for you to know. You can see where we spend our money. You can tell that the majority of our money is spent on our teachers. And also, you can see in the percentages there, the percentages have changed a little bit, but if you think of a 1% is going to be about $100,000. Facilities, we spend, you can see that amount, we spend around 24% of our budget on facilities and utilities. I come back to this, but we spend around $11 million on electricity bill every year. Supplies, curriculum, technology, you can see how we have broken down, how that is broken down in our local budget. Okay, what we do with the money that you filter to us through the citizens of Johnston County. So our local budget, you can see, goes all the way from teachers down to athletics, which is, you know, the lowest amount. Here, I want to talk a little bit about this, and this can get confusing. So if you're confused, I'll try to help you with it. But this is the great news. The first bullet, we are 7th in the state in teacher supplement pay. Y'all, that says a lot. That says a lot. That's 7th out of 115 school districts in North Carolina. We are 7th. That is because of your generosity, and I know you're going to tell me it's not your money, it's the taxpayers of Johnston County's money, but that's your generosity to us. We are able to supplement our teachers in a way that most districts cannot do, and it helps us. It helps us with retention. It helps us with recruitment and retention. We are now 42nd in local per pupil appropriations, that's local dollars. But we're 11th in your funding effort, and that's another calculation that they do. So that's very good, that you were 11th out of 115 school districts. In your effort to fund school districts, you are 11th. That's really good, I think. Then if you look at 89th in state funding per pupil, and I want to say this in a nice way, but nobody really understands the state funding. I don't understand it. I don't know that Ms. Young understands it, Dr. Pierce doesn't understand it, and I know Stephen Britt doesn't. If Stephen Britt doesn't understand it, but we really don't understand the formula for state funding per pupil, and I'll get to that in a minute. But so we're 89th out of 115, and then we are 97th in our total per pupil expenditures. And let me see if I can explain this. A school system gets funding from 3 sources: state, federal, and local. So when you add all that up together and you divide it by the number of kids you have, we are 97th out of 115. We are $2,227 less than the state average. The state average is $14,000 per kid. And, you know, we've looked at this, and I've tried to understand this, but let me tell you the top counties in the state. Maybe this will help all of us understand this. Hyde County is number 1. Number 2 is Tyrrell. Is it Tyrrell County?
Tyrrell.
Asheville City, Thomasville, Granville, Carteret, Burke, Alexander. They're the top 10. A lot of that has to do with the supplemental money that they get from the state. For instance, Hyde County gets $27,000. They have $27,000 per child expenditures. We have 8,000. We're sitting at $12,206 per child when we add all our funding up together. But Hyde County has 485 kids in their school system. So the way to understand this is, in Hyde County, they have much less schools, but they still have to have a principal, they still have to have secretaries, they still have to have teachers, they still have to have all these allotted positions. So you're dividing the money by fewer people, so the money is larger per child. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so that's sort of how we think how we are where we are. We have to divide our pot of money by a lot more kids than that. Anything y'all want to add to that? Okay, so it's hard for me to understand how in the world can we be 97th in the state in per pupil expenditures when we're out there getting every dollar we can get, but it's because we have to divide it among so many people. Plus, we don't get some of the other funding that some of the districts, especially in low wealth areas, I don't mean low wealth funding, but just in more poverty areas, they get additional funding that we don't get. So there's that. Wake County's 92nd. You want to compare? Yes.
How do we compare to other counties that are about the same size of us?
Well, we like to compare ourselves with Union County. You know, you always try to find your county and help me here. Union County is one that we would like to go, and they're 108 out of 115. And per pupil, they actually spend $11,661 per child, and we spend $12,206. Please understand that's all the money in the pot divided by the number of kids. Okay, so I come to you, just, that, this is more just trying to help us all educate ourselves as to why are these numbers like they are. But anyways, maybe that helps with that.
Ms. Andrews, let me ask you a question too. Is the 97th in total per pupil expenditures, is that a direct correlation to the 89th in state funding? Does that have an effect on that?
Well, it probably does. For instance, Hyde County gets, let me find Hyde County. Hyde County gets $20,000 per child. We get $8,018 per child. That makes sense. So, yeah.
So there's a direct
It's
relation.
a direct relation. But Hyde County made that 20,000 may include more than just direct state payments. It could be low wealth money. It could be other funding. And I don't know if there's additional funding. Kim would have to help me out here. Or Mr. Britt. Is that explaining, Mr. Britt?
There he is.
Yes.
I don't know if you can hear him.
Yeah.
Did that explain it?
Yes. Yeah. So you've got small county funding that goes to like Hyde County schools, and that's why they're funded at a greater amount than we are. And then Union was mentioned a while ago. The big difference between us and Union for funding is in low wealth funding. So Union County Schools no longer qualifies for low wealth funding, and so they lost all of that amount. And it's all due to the metrics that are built into that county. They've got overall a higher level of wealth as per the formula that the state calculates that with, and that's why their number's a little bit different than ours.
Is that pretty clear? Yeah, Union County is 113th in the amount and ranked for what they get from the state. They only get $7,000 a child per state. Okay. Let's go to this. This is, I just want to touch base on this. We have had, many of you and I and Dr. Pierce and I know Rick and Chad and them have had these conversations about low wealth. You have this information that we do receive a significant amount of money in low wealth. We were cut some this past year. This coming year, we're going to be okay. But the next year, the 27-28 school year, could be very difficult for us. We could get cut as much as $6 to $9 million in low wealth. And the reason for that is has a lot to do with property reevaluation. And many of us have sat at the table, we've talked about this, and this is a cycle. I think you have a slide right there that shows you the trend for counties in low wealth funding. And those of you who maybe don't understand what low wealth funding is, it is funding that's given to districts based on a lot of criteria, your density, your average income. It's based on all the things that are taking place in your county. And Johnston County is a very diverse county. We have we can go from those who are very well off to those who live in great poverty. So, but we still qualify right now. But what has happened with the tax reevaluations is once a district has their taxes reevaluated, everything goes up. Their property values have gone up. So therefore, you're less likely to receive low wealth money. But once all the property evaluations through the state of North Carolina take place, it should balance itself back out. And you can see where, for instance, Gaston County lost a significant amount of money last year, almost $8 million in low wealth money, but it should balance back out perhaps once the whole state goes through evaluation. But here's the problem. If the General Assembly stops the evaluation process, if they stop the property evaluation process, it could put us in a holding where we may not be held harmless to where we are right now, and we could lose significant funding. Every dollar of our low wealth money goes to teachers. We pay teachers out of it. Every penny goes toward paying for teachers. So if we lose a significant amount of low wealth money, again, I'm not telling you anything I haven't told you before, we could be in significant issues. That's not right now, but that's more so for the following year. But we do pay our staff out of that. Okay, any questions about that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I had one quick question. So we had decided that we were going to go from a 6-year to a 4-year revaluation. The state mandates 8 right now. Do you see that could affect our low wealth funding in that right now, if we reevaluate 6 years, we've got 6 years of that same number to as other counties get reevaluated. If we go 4 years, how do you see that playing out?
I'm going to phone a friend, and that's Stephen Britt.
Okay.
I think go ahead.
Yes, and I'm going to speak up a little bit louder, so I'm kind of shouting here. I heard you couldn't hear me very well. But yes, the 4-year cycle will actually help us, or at least help stabilize low wealth, because the big span, 6 years, when you've got other counties that are doing shorter timeframes, they're reevaluating faster. And so then ours is more volatile, year to year, because they've got a cycle that has reevaluated before us. And so it either makes us look better or worse than what we actually are. So a 4-year cycle actually helps stabilize our low wealth funding some.
And the key is when everyone gets reevaluated. That's the key, when it all levels out. Because right now, if you look at counties that have not had property is not being reevaluated, their property value is not what ours is. But at some point, it will level out. Did you have
Yeah, I did have, and numbers may not be exactly right, but something like 71 counties in the last 3 years have had a revow. So we're on the tail end of that.
Right.
So I'm thinking we're catching up, so maybe we won't see 6 to 9, but I also know there are 9 counties currently in the revow process. I think 3 more were exempted because they were small counties. So I think we are, we're not the first one in and going to have to wait till everybody starts lowering, because I think another piece of that is not only the value, but the rate, the property tax rate that each county assigns their residents. So I think, fortunately, I think the others are coming down, so hopefully we won't see quite as dramatic a
Right.
decrease.
Hopefully we're about
because we're in the, at the end of this year, there'll be 80% of the counties in the last 4 years have redone.
Right. We would like for the property reevaluations in North Carolina to continue. I think you can understand why. We don't want there to be a pause. We want to, unless you're going to hold us harmless and keep
Right.
us at the same funding level. But that's not a decision that any of us in this room are going to probably make. So, okay. Here I am to what I'm here for today. You can see that the last year, the current expense amount was $110 million, of which we're very grateful. This year, we are asking for an additional $6.3 million, and I just want to go briefly over that as to why. This is only a 5.4% increase from last year, but let's look at it. As you well know, you probably know, in December of 2025, in the past, we have always done supplements. Supplement is the money that you give teachers above and beyond their salary. All supplements have to come from local dollars. Now, there is a small low wealth supplement that comes from the state, and the state gives a few supplements, but the major supplement that our teachers receive comes from the current expense money that you give to us. So what we did in December was we went on a fixed rate of supplement rather than percentage. In the past, I've come before you and said, look, we want to add 1% to our supplement. But now we realize that those days probably need to end, and we need to go to a set amount. If you have taught from 0 to 5 years, this is your supplement. And it worked out, when we did it in December, it worked out that no one lost any money. Every teacher was going to get at least the same supplement they have had. But what we would like to do is to increase that supplement a little bit more in order to handle the pay raises that have come. Because if I was on a percentage and I get a pay raise and I get a supplement increase. But if you go to a set scale, if we get a pay raise, I don't get a supplement increase. So this is what we're asking for here. And you can see it's in the amount of $1.1 billion. But we're trying to stay competitive with other districts. In this past school year, if you were a first-year teacher in Johnston County, you made more money than a first-year teacher in Wake County. I've been in this district started working in this district in 1980. That's never been the case. Never. In all the years I've been involved, it's never that we could beat Wake County in anything with supplements, but we have. Then you can see that most of you have heard the news. You have this sheet with you, which is the new teacher. This is the projected. There was a press conference several weeks ago. Our General Assembly came forward and said, this is what we're going to try to do. We had already done our projections. We had already done our budget request. So, we're here today not fully, well, we don't know what the budget's going to be, but this is what they're saying. They're saying that they're going to give a first through 5 year teacher, well, first year 0 gets 70%, and you can see how it goes down. So in the first 4 years, there's a nice increase. We pay teachers out of federal, state, and local dollars. We pay our new teachers out of local dollars because the money goes further. A new teacher does not make what a veteran teacher makes, and that's what all districts are doing. But look who got the big raises, the new teachers, which we're thrilled. If this holds true, a brand new teacher, first year teacher, would make somewhere around $51,000 a year. That's phenomenal. It's almost that's almost a $10,000 raise from this past year. That's without supplement. So we're sitting here with a request for total for certified as our teachers, classified or our other workers, to get $2.4 million in order to give them give them an increase. But we're sitting here with the state having projected that they could give them as much, that could average out as much as 15% based on our teachers' pay raise, and we've only asked for a 6%. Does that make sense to y'all? Okay, so, but this is not final yet. This is the projected budget request. When they came together, they said this was what they're going to do. I think they're working out some other things. You received an email from Mr. Britt on May the 14th where he tried to explain when the state gives a raise, they don't always pay for the raise. The General Assembly passes the budget. The money goes to the Department of Public Instruction. That money, the state money to Johnston County Public Schools can go to 44 different departments, different areas. That money doesn't just filter in to one pot. It filters into difference. So it depends on what they do, whether they cover the whole percentage of raise. Let me say that again. When the state, and that email explains it to you, it gives you an example of 2024 when they got a 4% raise, but we had to ante up $1.2 million to cover the raise. Now, the state raise they're only going to fund the state teachers, the teachers that are paid out of state. We have teachers paid out of federal, and we have teachers paid out of local. If the federals don't give a raise, then we pay the teachers paid out of federal out of our local dollars, and then we pay all of our local teachers' raises out of local dollars. Does that make sense? The state is only going to give you the money for the teachers that you have that you pay out of state funding, plus they may not even give you all that you need to cover it. That's another conversation for another day, okay?
So out of the I think you said 4,000, roughly 4,000 teachers, what percent are local, state, and federally funded?
Depends.
Come on.
I think the answer to that is hard to give you. It depends. And it's all going to be based on year to year and how the funding's given. Stephen Britt, you want to phone a friend and answer that any better?
Yes, so just like you said, unfortunately, it varies from year to year. So on an average year, we pay about $46 million of salaries in local. And the reason why I can't say from year to year exactly how much that's going to be is because just like Ms. Andrews, just like you have mentioned, the state is going to fund a certain portion of pay increases from year to year. And plus all these different programs that we have, they all have different metrics of how the funding is determined. Like, for example, EC. EC is one of our largest programs. I was going to say most costly, but it's probably not the best way to phrase that. But I need that EC allotment to go up somewhere around 8% next year to fund all the teachers that are in that allotment. Chances are I'm not going to get an 8% EC funding increase on there. Not to mention some of ours are federally funded, and I'm most certainly not getting an 8% increase for those federally funded teachers. So that's going to create a deficit in my state and my federal dollars now. And so now where does that come from? You've got two choices. You either lay off the staff, which you can't legally do because you are legally required to provide those services for EC students, or it trickles down to local. And that's what's going to happen here with, that's what I am afraid is going to happen with this budget that's coming up, is that we're going to have a deficit or even a larger deficit than what we have. So I'm afraid that $46 million that we are paying with local and state dollars, I'm afraid that's going to grow pretty significantly. Hopefully I'm being negative and being pessimistic. Hopefully the state will fund more than what they traditionally have done it. Just to give you an example, in 2024 fiscal year, I think it was, we had a 4% average state pay increase. I was $1.2 million short that year. Now that doesn't mean that we're going to be $1.2 million short this year, or we could be more or less than that. But that's kind of the history, at least I know I'm probably going to be short. I just don't know how much short I'm going to be.
And I think the reason we have to say it depends, remember, we're trying to stretch the money. So we're moving the lowest paid people we can, and it might be that we're paying a certain number of staff out of that lowest first 5 years so we can stretch the funding. So the number of staff may adjust and change at any given time based on how many staff we have in that first 5 years, 10 years steps.
Yeah, and I know that's something y'all been doing for,
Correct.
well, probably since Stephen
Yes.
came on board.
Yes.
But so before we go looking into the future, to today and the year we're in right now, what does that break down amongst the three? Do you, if you don't have it, you can.
We can get it
that
to you. I don't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
it
that's
today.
fine.
We can get
That's
it.
fine.
I'd like to ask a question about what is the criteria for what the state fund versus what comes from federal or positions funded locally? How does the state make a determination, we're gonna only fund these positions but not more?
I don't know.
I don't think anybody knows.
I'm too bad your face wasn't on camera.
I hope it wasn't either. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I don't know. And if Stephen Britt does not understand it, nobody does.
That's right.
It's a formula that nobody can, and I go to meetings with other board members and board chairs, and they don't understand it either.
Well, that begs the question, is the state fulfilling their funding obligation?
Good question. And right now, the situation, I don't want to dwell on this because we're sitting, we can't do anything about that but work together, but the key for us right now is this 17% for first year, and we're thrilled. I am thrilled for these teachers. This is a life-changing difference for some of these individuals and their ability to have this career and have life. But if they don't fully fund this, if the state does not fully fund these raises, we're going to be in a mess. I'm just going to say it like it is. I don't know any other way to say it because we have to supplement all of that difference back to local dollars. And I'm going through what we're asking you for, and then you can certainly have what all the other money has gone to. You've received that. But this is, and when we talk about this year's proposal, our request of you, we're talking about supplements, we're talking about pay raises, we're talking about Wilson's Mills High School, and a few other things. That's basically what we're talking about. So when we look at under pay raises, you've got charter schools. Now, always think of this. 10% of what you give us is going to a charter school. And let me see if I have that on here. Yeah, I do. So that's the amount of money, $11,182,000 of what you gave us last year has gone to charter schools. I do want to note that over $2 million of that $11 million went to charter schools outside of Johnston County. With the opening of virtual charter schools, we can be paying we're paying charter schools in the mountains because kids are virtually in a charter school. So that's an interesting thing, I think. But anyway, that's we're required to do that, and we do that. And Mr. Britt does a great job. If you look further past the charter schools, the Wilson's Mills, if you combine that, we are asking for that funding. I think it's around $1.4 million total. That's positions, utilities, and some of the athletics there is for Wilson Mills High School. We're very excited about opening that school, but it costs to open a school. Some of these, for instance, we don't have the enrollment to have a data manager yet from the state, so we'll pay for that for a year. And then once we get the kids in there, the state will pick that up. So when you talk about pay raises plus Wilson's Mills, of the $6.3 million that we are coming to request, $4 million of it is those things. $4 million is the pay raises in the Wilson's Mills. You see utilities, I think you have athletics, we have just a little bit of money there. Flag football is now a sport. We also have Wilson Mills, high school, which we have to do a little bit more work with athletics. But utilities and facilities, we're just increasing that. That's for, you can see what that is. That's for supplies and things. It's interesting that for our total utilities and facilities, we pay about $12 million in utilities every year. We pay about $5.1 million in salaries because that's where you pay the salaries for the people who work in our facilities. We pay $500,000 for dumpsters every year at our schools. So add 50 schools, and you got you pay a significant amount of money, and then just gas, the desks, chairs, everything is involved in that. Any questions on that? Our SRO projected increase, we will have an increase for our SRO officers, which that's a negotiation that we do with the Sheriff's Department and our municipalities, and that works out well. Security cameras, you can see, again, you've been so gracious to us through detectors, metal detectors. We do have to purchase those for Wilson Mills High School and those type of things. Inflation, I think we all have felt the brunt of that, and you can see that it's a small amount, but it's significant for us. And then here are some things that department cuts. Mr. Britt has worked his magic, and we have cut $500,000. And also, we anticipate gaining more in fine and forfeitures. You understand that we get that money when someone's present there to collect that money. So we're anticipating an increase of $95,000, $100,000 in our fine and forfeitures, which is valuable money. Any questions on that?
So what is the inflation rate that you factored in?
Less than 3%.
Yeah, it's
Stephen, did we do less than 3% for inflation?
Yeah, so that's, we did a line item budget, as we do every year, and so it's based off of what every budget or every department expects, their costs to go up. Some departments, didn't go up any at all, and others have gone up more than the inflation amount when you look at fuel costs, like for transportation, for bus transportation. So it varies by department there, but it's, the departments have done a really good job. That's less than 3% overall.
Yeah.
So significantly less than 3%.
And a lot of that came from the cuts, from cutting back in the departments. So just to, I just want to sort of wrap it up here, but just to say that when you add, the salary increases plus Wilson Mills High School plus us trying to establish a little bit higher supplement increase, without those things, well, if you went without Wilson Mills and without the salary raises, we're asking for a 2% increase from last year. I mean, the 2% is going toward the things that are below Wilson Mills and those areas. Any questions about that? Okay. All right, let's go real quick because I know y'all got a lot of people here who want to talk. This is our capital request. Our request is for 5,478,000. As you know, we have to make a decision here, and we all have to make it together. Are we going to repair, or are we going to run to die? Does that make sense? Are we going to fix it, or are we going to run it till it dies? And right now, we're on a run to die model. When it breaks, when it finally breaks, we'll go in and fix it. We spent $500,000, $750,000 on HVAC at Clayton Middle School this year we weren't anticipating. That comes out of capital. We have, y'all know, we have this happening. It's continuing to happen. Our schools are aging. So this is a budget request to try to help with some of these situations. As you can see, the first one is fleet replacement. I know Dr. Pierce said he came to work one day last week and 2 of our vehicles were pulled over on the side of the road, broken down. I mean, we got vehicles with over 300,000 miles on them. We've got paper clips and rubber bands holding some of them together, So we need to replace those. Chiller replacements, we talked about that before. We still have 52 that need to be replaced. This is just, we're asking for funding for 3. Hot water heaters, parking lots, gutter replacements. You can see all that. West Clayton roof. This is not to replace the roof. This is to repair the roof. Our new roof's going to cost millions. Smithfield Middle School, the kitchen, plumbing needs to be replaced. And then safety, we have bus cameras. We have the micro elementary connector, something that we've talked about before, which is a safety thing. And then devices. And you may ask, devices are part, we put down the general statute there that covers this, but devices, we bought a lot of our devices with ESSER funds back in 2020. Everybody did. But that's a long time. That's 5 years ago. Our devices need to be constantly replaced. At one point, we had 30,000 devices, and we need to start now rotating the replacement of those devices, and so this is somewhat to help that. We do not get the money for technology from the state. We get very little money. We get very little money for curriculum from the state, so we have to make up for it, unfortunately, with the money that you give us. But this would fall under capital expense. Do you want to add anything to that?
Just over 5 million square foot facility.
Yeah.
We have the largest capital asset of the counties with over 50 school campuses and 53 buildings. So we appreciate what you've done to date, and As you all know, we're all just trying our best to stay ahead of what might happen next.
Where do we maybe you used Union County as a comparison. Do you know where we compare to them as far as square footage of
They have a
schools?
few more schools.
There are a few more ahead of us, but not many.
Okay,
Yeah.
just curious.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a question on facilities. You said you're on a run-to-die type approach right now, as opposed to a replacement schedule. Do you have a plan to transition to a more formalized physical plant management system?
We would love that conversation. I had a conversation with Rick and Chad earlier in the year. You know, if we could get some commitment to what that financial obligation could be over several years, then we feel like we could get to a plan of where this is the replacement cycle to be more efficient. As you're well aware, you know, the R-22 is the biggest issue as we stand to date. But there is a large sum when we look at our facility conditional assessment, our capital improvement plan. I think it shows that we needed over $30 million worth of things if you look at life cycle. So the question is, we need to find out where's the difference between life cycle and what we can actually project and afford to do, is my feeling of where we need to all come together.
In terms of replacing these units that have the type of refrigerant that's no longer available, what percentage completion have you, where you stand right now in terms of addressing those?
So we have 52 left
52.
in the district, and we're trying to get 3 here.
There's been some discussion at the federal level about changing some of those rules regarding refrigerants. Do you know if anything has progressed on that?
We do not. I know it's extremely difficult to find any reclaimed refrigerant, and so we're trying our best to reclaim when we take to give ourselves. So if we replace these 3, we'll try to hold on to this, but we don't have any understanding of what's next for that.
Yeah, R-22 is pretty much dead.
Yeah.
You can only have reclaimed refrigerant that no longer manufactured. That's where we've got all this equipment at.
Yeah.
The only thing about a run-to-die philosophy is that you run the higher risk of loss of use of your facilities for extended periods when you do have a failure.
And high cost when you have to bring in portable chillers.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not an overnight transition. It's going to take a solid plan and a lot of money to get you to that level.
Yeah, I'll just add, I think we want the same thing that you do on the Capitol, but I think that begins with you and bringing some numbers to us. And I know you can have, you know, different levels of service that you want to maintain, and that may be present 3 options, and we can begin there to start taking a look at, and then, you know, of course, Rick and Chad on the dollars. But I think if that's, you know, for next year, and I would say start really soon, let's start taking a look at that and see what that looks like. Yes, I'd rather do that than have y'all come and we need 4 chillers this year and we need this, we'd say, here's what, and we're gonna maintain the level of service that whatever that
Right.
is.
And that's what would hopefully eliminate what Bill's talking about not being able to have school because you don't have air conditioning or whatever. Any other questions? I thank you so much for this time that you give us. You're so generous to give it that. And as I said before, we're all on the same team. And do appreciate the relationship that we have working with all of you. So we look forward.
Thank Stephen Britt for his commitment to
Yes,
this.
yes.
project.
And you know, Stephen is serving our country, but he's serving Johnston County at the same time, when he should be sleeping.
We appreciate all of that. Senator, I just want to say how much I appreciate the good working relationship between the Board of Education and the Board of Commissioners, the school system, Dr. Pierce, the whole staff is really, really working very well together to try to do what's right for the people and to educate our children. And, you know, the capital thing, I always go back and say that, you know, one of the reasons that we're in the position we're in is it's a two-sided approach. You know, this board has to step up and provide the funding that it takes to fix those problems. And you know, when I first came on in 2018, I didn't understand the rhyme or reason to sometimes the numbers that were put forth for capital. It was just, there was no math behind it that made sense to me. And I think this is a result of that. We've got to come together and work on a plan that we can all afford, but yet get us to the point that we're not being reactive, that we're in a proactive situation and avoid those downtimes. So thank you for all your work, and please pass on to your board how much we appreciate it.
I sure will, and thank you. One of your top initiatives is education, and you hold true to that. And I thank you for that, so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to mention one other thing, not to scare everyone to death, but that chiller replacement, if there's 3 that cost 1.9, that's about $633,000 apiece. If there's 52 more to replace, that's $33 million that need to be replaced. And at this rate, it would take 17 years to do that, so. Yeah, yeah.
I think the important thing to point out with that is every time you don't fund an appropriate amount, it just compounds that problem. That problem is not going to go away. And so when they come in and ask for $5 million or whatever, and we fund $2 million, that's just making that problem compound. I mean, it's not going to make it go away. Go ahead.
Well, not only that, but the conversation that you had, we're going to just wait for things to die, or we're going to start replacing them. We also have to take into consideration how the technology is moving so quickly and how more energy efficient. So while it may cost us a little more right now to replace something before it's truly dead, what are we going to be saving in energy costs to continue to feed something that is outdated and not efficient anymore? So I think those are some of the more forward-thinking things we need to consider as well.
Right. Any other comments or?
Other than R22 chillers, are pretty much on their last leg. I mean, when they die, they're dead because we don't have the refrigerant to go back into them. So they have to be a high priority going forward. But as Mike just pointed out, you're talking about a substantial amount of money. Yeah, at some point in time, we may have to look at considering some type of major R&R funding, whether it's bonds or what else, or borrowing money to do that, so that we can address some of these critical items that are going to be necessary to keep these schools functional and operational.
I agree.
One more thing, and I wanted, because you've had a great part of this. Remember we had the talk about mobile units? And y'all all want them gone, you wanted them gone. We are down to 53 out of 180 something. So
Amen.
we're getting there.
Good.
We're getting there.
And
That's a great accomplishment. Thank you.
really quick, if I may, Chairman, I just think it would be good for everyone to hear, because a lot of the things we hear are, with so much growth, we're continuously having to build schools. But as I'm telling everybody, I feel like we're pretty caught up right now to that point. So I think it'd be good for the citizens to also hear from y'all. This is one of the first years since I've been on the board where there's not a full school that we're having to fund. We've got one that we're rebuilding, but other than that, I think you guys have made great strides in, and to that point, getting us not just caught up, but actually getting students where they need to be. And for that reason, I think, it's even more of a time that we start focusing on not just funding new builds and things like that, but really improving the builds that we have and the quality of the schools for our students and staff.
Yeah. And that's right. That's the conversation that Chairman Harris and I have had, that the time now is to focus on the schools we already have.
Yes.
We have, we've been playing catch-up. The last 2 bonds we're playing catch-up to get kids out of mobile units because we were overcrowded. That's not the case. We have one school that's crowded, but that's not the case. But now we need to take care of what we have.
Yes.
And if you don't, you'll end up in a mess.
Amen.
And so,
Thank you.
anyways, thank y'all.
We're
Yeah.
fortunate that the enrollment has been somewhat flat in our
Right.
public schools, which
Right.
gives us some breathing room to try to catch
That's
us
right.
up.
That's right. And, it's more expensive to educate. I mean, everything's more expensive, so, but you're right. Well, that's one reason why there's not a 26 bond, is that we feel like we're in a good shape right now. We just got to take care of what we got.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would just say, add one thing, and April made me think of it, is the courage that it took for the school board to do the redistricting, because I know that has been a reason we have heard.
Don't want to do that again.
For many years, we heard that was not going to happen.
It was so desperately needed.
But thank y'all for.
And it's going to take us a
taking
few
that
years to
bold
get
move.
that all done, because, we had some grandfathering in there, but I think for the most part, the citizens of Johnston County will be very happy.
You're making the right moves. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right, next, we have Harbor Incorporated. Our friend Kay Johnston is here, and I'll let her introduce all the folks that she has with her. Ms. Johnston, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Council. I am Kay Johnston, the Executive Director of Harbor of Johnston County. I have with me today Melissa Oliver, as well as Michael Sims. They're going to present, and then I'll come back and speak to you all in closing. Thank you. Melissa.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for allowing us to speak. As she said, I'm Melissa Oliver, and I currently serve on the Harbor Board. Like many people in this room, I've had the privilege of serving for many years in a variety of roles, volunteer roles, but I have to say that my experience on the Harbor Board has been the most meaningful for me in all of these years. And we thank you for your support. Thank you for attending our gala, those of you who were able to be there. We are just so very thankful for the support that you all have given us, and it's very meaningful, and we are deeply grateful. You understand better than most the sobering realities of domestic violence and sexual assault in our community and the critical role that Harbor plays in responding to this need. Our mission is simple but powerful, and I believe you guys have a copy of our PowerPoint if you want to follow along, but it's so the public can hear. It's to provide comprehensive services for victims and survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. And just going through some of the statistics, according to the most recent report from the North Carolina Division of Women and Youth, Johnston County ranked 4th in the state in 2024 for the number of individuals served for domestic violence. 4th. We also know the broader reality. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 10 men will experience domestic violence in their lifetime. So we do celebrate the extraordinary work that Harbor has done to walk alongside victims, but the trends are clear. The cases are increasing. The demand is growing, and the demand rests on Harbor every single day. So each day, as you all know, Harbor provides safe shelter for victims. We offer 24-hour crisis support. We deliver counseling and advocacy. A very large portion of our service is counseling and advocacy. And we serve as a convener of critical community partnerships. So at the same time, the data in Johnston County is concerning. Violent crime has increased by 7%. The most common violent crimes are aggravated assault, 76.5%, and you have this in your notes, and rape, 11.9%. 61% of homicide deaths involve arguments or conflicts. And 1 in 2 female homicide victims are killed by an intimate partner. And just, what also is just scary, regarding firearms, we're involved in approximately 75% of domestic violence cases from 21 to 23. I know that's a lot of statistics, but it's important to cover just where we are. We are also seeing significant growth in specialized services. So you've heard of Harbor's Sahara Center, which serves victims of sexual assault. We have experienced a 59% increase in clients this past year, victims of sexual assault, and an average 41% increase over the past 3 years. So, we talk about the number of people that are impacted. We have served in this past year 3,165 people. And as you know, that represents family, that represents people in our community that needed safety, advocacy, and hope. And each person we serve represents those families and life transitions that we walk with them. We walk along with them. So, and as you know, across the state, the need continues to rise. The number of domestic violence clients increased dramatically during the pandemic, and it remains about 50% higher in 2025 than 2018. A lot of statistics to think about, but it just shows everything is increasing, unfortunately. However, meanwhile, the funding has moved in the opposite direction, and it seems like that's a trend listening today about Johnston County Schools. But Federal Crimes Victims Fund support for North Carolina declined from 103 million in 2018 to just 24 million in 2024. So we went from 103 million to just 24 million. And so here locally, while demand has increased, Harbor's operating budget has decreased from 1.7 million to just 1.4 million this year. And so I mentioned this at our gala, you may have heard, we are not in crisis. We are a strong, well-managed organization with diverse funding streams. We've really amped it up, asking our local individuals and businesses to support Harbor as well. But we are in an important moment. And we've not really grown our team to the level that, to the number of people that we are serving. And that is just absolutely mandatory. And my colleague, Michael Sims, will be speaking to that. But we are trying not to just sustain Harbor, but we have to ensure that it thrives. And so we're wanting to build long-term stability. And certainly the uncertainty that Johnston County Schools speaks about and others, we are just continuing to ask for your support. And so now I invite Michael Sims to speak on that.
Thank you. Morning, Mr. Sims.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am happy to be standing in front of you all. Most of y'all know me. I do want to take just a couple seconds just to thank you all as leaders, because most of y'all know me. I've sat over on that side in a municipality standpoint, but I understand what it takes as far as the budget and what you're dealing with and the dollars and your responsibility to the taxpayer. And what I'm about to talk about here in a second, it's hard for you guys as leaders, again, because I've sat over there, and you have to make those leadership decisions on things that you don't necessarily have the statistics for in public safety. So what do I mean by that? You're saying that, hey, we're going to have to do this to prevent X, but sometimes you don't have X in front of you, but you know it's for the good of the taxpayer and of the county, and you guys have made those decisions. But guess what? Right now, I have something for you that I think you guys are going to like, that is going to show to that taxpayer why it's been so beneficial on these decisions that you all have made, and that's the Jamie Kimball Foundation study. You got the PowerPoint right now that I have in front of you, but the clerk actually has the study itself, and I really hope that you take the time to look through this. I've grabbed some numbers and out of here to give to you all today, but this study, Jamie Kimball, the young lady was murdered in 2012. Her mom and dad were devastated. When they began to do a lot of research on the whole thing, they came to find out that money wasn't allocated towards certain things that could have prevented certain things that ended up happening with her because of the domestic violence issue. So she partnered, her and her husband, they partnered with UNC Charlotte and the professors there. They came up with this study in which we have the Jamie Kimball Foundation. So basically what it does, it breaks down from a financial standpoint what would happen when you don't have policing, courts, incarceration, healthcare, shelters, even the loss of productivity from that individual, from whether, again, in the case of their daughter being murdered, to just all the hours that are spent in that. So the number breaks it down to $5,543 per reported incident. Over the course of the state, that equates out to $500 million annually. So what we did, and what I did and looked at, was with Johnston County. So roughly with Johnston County, with the a little bit over 250,000 residents, Harbor has served approximately 3,235 individuals for fiscal year 2025. If you look at that from a per cost for capital on domestic violence cost range of $71 per resident annually, the estimated annual economic burden on Johnston County is, and if you look at it overall, how I came up with the math, it can come out to $17,931,605 million annually. Now, that's based upon if nothing was done. That's based upon if nothing was done. And if you look on the next slide, just a little bit further on that next page, and by all means, if you got a question, please ask. These costs that are put in there is just ones that more directly affect the taxpayer, so law enforcement response. So this is, again, an estimated cost of $500,000, court system cost, $1.2 million, jail incarceration, $700,000. But overall, looking at a direct public cost of 3.9, almost $4 million. If you want to understand that from what the impact is with Harbor, okay, we broke it down from a percentage standpoint, that if, just for example, if you have a 30% reduction because of what you all have done with Harbor and helping Harbor, just that 30% reduction shows a direct taxpayer savings of $1.17 million. 20%, $780,000. Direct taxpayer savings just from 10% is almost $400,000. So again, these numbers are talking about from a prevention standpoint, intervention standpoint, shelter services, education, and victim support, which is provided. So again, this is such a huge thing, what you guys have done, and we know that you're going to continue to do. But let's break it down just a little bit further in understanding the biggest direct effect is when we start thinking about is in law enforcement and what it brings to the police department. The research has shown that, the Kimball study has shown that violence calls are among the most resourced intensive law enforcement responsibilities, stemming from multiple officer responses, repeat calls, arrest processing, protective order enforcement, court appearances, and follow-up investigations. A lot of this Harbor takes on. A lot of this prevents that. So those dollars that are spent are preventing and helping the police department when they should be out policing other things. If Harbor shelter and prevention programs reduce repeat domestic calls by only 20%, 100 of officer hours annually are saved. Significant overtime costs, reduction of jail transportation and booking expenses, reduced investigation workloads. Using that study that I just talked about, Johnston County could roughly save from $100,000 to $150,000 annually in law enforcement costs alone, just from a reduction of 20%. So that's just narrowing it down. And let's not take for granted, and we have to understand too that, and I know you guys do, there's a mental health aspect of this. You guys look at the news every day. We know that mental health is a huge component of a lot of the issues and problems that we have, especially when it comes down to domestic violence. And the research has shown a direct link between those who are untreated. So that's one of the things that Harbor is looking at too, as far as trying to get into that sphere of dealing with mental health. Researchers emphasize that mental health treatment can be an important component of reducing future violence. With that being said, I'm going to have Ms. Kay Johnston come on up, and she's going to close us out here.
Thank you.
Again, this past April, I've had the honor of celebrating my 10th year anniversary at Harbor. With over 30 years of experience in the public service, I have witnessed both tremendous challenges and meaningful progress. Through it all, one constant has remained, and that has been our advocates. These are individuals who do not see their role as simply as a job. For many, this work is a calling. Why do I say that so confidently? Because when you sit across from a mother whose eyes are blackened with marks around her neck, who tells you she cannot remember anything that happened because she lost consciousness, and still our advocates remain present. When they continue to show up even for the seventh person that they've seen in one day that walks through the door, they still provide care and compassion. This is not just employment. The job at Harbor is a purpose, and again, it is a calling. So why should you, county commissioners, continue to consider placing Harbor in your budget once again? Because Harbor is here to serve more than 3,000 Johnstonians each year, individuals who come to us at the most vulnerable moments of their lives. These are people who have gathered the courage to walk through our doors, to share their most personal and painful experiences with strangers, pushing past shame, fear, and uncertainty to seek help. And when it comes to comprehensive services for domestic violence and sexual assault, Harbor is that agency for this county. Every day we strive to ensure that voices are heard, individuals are seen, and every person is reminded of their worth and value. I will not stand here and say that we meet the mark every single time, but I will say that we take accountability. We learn, we improve, and we strengthen our policies to ensure we deliver services that are worthy of your trust and partnership. We cannot control every outcome. We cannot control life or death, but we can control one thing: when and how we show up for the people of Johnston County that need our services. Harbor is essential to this community. And because of that, because of your continued support, on the behalf of our board of directors, our advocates, and those over 3,000 individuals that we serve, we respectfully ask that you consider and approve our fiscal year 26 and 27 funding requests. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from Ms. Johnson?
Yes, I have a question, Ms. Johnson. Looking over the statistics in here, and so they do present a compelling argument, but I need to understand better where these numbers are coming from. One in particular that stuck out was says the Crime Victim Fund has diminished in recent years. The state received $24 million in 2024 compared to $103 million in 2018. Could you elaborate on why that reduction occurred and from whom? I assume that's federal money, or that?
That is federal money, yes, that comes down through the state, and Harbor serves as one of the sub-recipients of monies funding from the Governor's Crime Commission.
Mm-hmm. All right, so these are funds that otherwise would have been available through the Governor's Crime Commission to be allocated out?
That is correct.
Did they give an indication as to the primary reason why that reduction occurred? If these programs are in fact do have that much of a cost avoidance impact, as well as positive influence on the crime rates, it seems like that would be really doesn't justify that type of cut.
Understand. Did they give a reason? We had conversation, we as in the service providers here in the state of North Carolina. One of our entities, one of the entities that provide support for us is the North Carolina Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Mm-hmm. And it is their role to help us to, one, they provide, they are the liaison between service providers and our legislators. Since, of course, 2018, they have provided the numbers, and you have the data there that shows that, unfortunately, domestic violence is not decreasing. However, because money is funded from the state and many of our agencies received substantial cuts on last year, just based upon the change in funding allocations from the federal government.
Mm-hmm. Now, as the primary source of your statistical data, is that the coalition you mentioned, as well as Department of Public Safety's Office of Violence Prevention?
Primary, yes, and also the North Carolina Coalition Against Division of Youth and Women's Services.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Was that all your questions, Commissioner?
One final question. How important is mental health, availability of mental health treatment to resolving some of these issues?
It's essential.
Essential.
It is essential. One, we know that for those that we serve, not only for the adults that come through our agency, but the children as well, because of the trauma, and the data tells us that there is a negative impact on domestic violence as it relates to children. We understand that. We not only understand that, we see that. When you have a 4-year-old that becomes so angry that he removes the water fountain out of your wall, then you know that trauma and mental health is a concern.
Yes.
For us, we are looking for 2627 to address that issue. We currently have a sexual assault advocate who serves our program on the weekend. She has recently received her, received her license, and so she's now a licensed clinical social worker. So she will be one specifically deemed in working with our families in order to address some of the mental health issues that we are currently seeing within our organization.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think this is my annual question. So we're roughly 9th in population, I think now, but yet we're 4th in domestic violence. Is there a reason for that? Is it the fact that we have such an outstanding program that people know there's a resource out there? I don't even know if you can put your finger on that, but I want you to make a stab at it if you can.
I will make a stab at it. We believe that there is a correlation between population and crime rate. And what we have seen, again, I have been at Harbor now for 10 years. And this 10th year, excuse me, I have seen a level of violence that I have never seen before. And it is my thought that although we are here to serve, and I think we are doing a better job of educating the community and making the community aware of not only the services to domestic violence, but also through our sexual assault project called the Sahari Center. So the information is out there that we exist and the services that we provide. And we have gone a step further in not only when we receive calls through our hotline, if the individuals do not meet our eligibility requirement, then we will make referrals on their behalf. So we've made referrals to Johnston County Public Health Services. We made referrals to Johnston County DSS. We made referrals to Alliance, mental health, other facilities because of the need. So yes, we're doing, I believe, and I may be biased, but we are doing a great work. But the reality is the numbers are increasing. We expect that the numbers to only increase as the population increases, because again, the data tells us as population increases, unfortunately, so does crime. And domestic violence is a criminal act.
I would agree with you. I think that so many times, in my experience, is underreported because of what you mentioned, the fear and, don't want to embarrass, but the fact that you are, and Harbor is here to be an advocate and support the victims of domestic violence is a great thing, and I appreciate all that you do to help the victims, their families, because you may not be the direct recipient of the violence, but it has an impact. You mentioned the 4-year-old tearing stuff off the wall. It does have an impact whether you're a direct victim or you just witnessing, and it has a mental impact on you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments from us?
I just want to make one quick comment for Commissioner Stovall. I just want to kind of piggyback off of what Kay said, because that's a good question. But that's why I opened up with saying that reduction that you were talking about. That's why it's so important the decisions that you all have made over these years. Let's be honest, let's be real. It's easier for us when we start looking through the budget as elected officials to cut this thing that we say, okay, you know, I don't really see the number, that's too much money towards that. But no, you all realize the impact that it does as we increase, as she just said, in population, and the fact that you're helping the citizens, the taxpayers, in understanding how public safety is so important from a long-term standpoint, and especially when you don't necessarily have the numbers. Please, 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 if you can, look at that Jamie Kimball report. It is that study. It is outstanding in showing that. Thank you.
I think Mr. Sims' point is well taken, because this is basically a discretionary funding item. And the primary justification is the cost avoidance that would be realized by funding the services at Harbor. So you have to have confidence in the numbers being presented, that they truly reflect savings to the taxpayers. That was going to be my follow-up question about then. How well accepted is the Jamie Kimball Foundation study amongst your peers? I mean, is this considered to be a study of high accuracy, or it's not speculative?
So I was able to review the study, and when I went back and did comparison, particularly when in 2018, when you look at those numbers, I would say high accuracy.
Okay. All right, thank you for that clarification.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments from the board or questions? Ms. Johnston, thank you so much for the work that your organization does. I've said before, I really hate that we need an organization like this, but unfortunately we do, and y'all have done an extraordinary job. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next on our list is Isaiah 117 House. We have Ms. Randa Gay with us to present on their behalf. Good morning, Ms. Gay. How are you doing?
Good, how are y'all?
Good, good.
My name is Randa Gay, and I get the privilege of serving as the location leader for the Isaiah 117 House here in Johnston County. Before I start talking about who we are and what we do and what the last year has looked like, I first want to just thank all of you on the board. This home has been 3 years in the making to get it here, and we appreciate all the work that you guys have done and the connections that you have helped us make within the community. I also want to extend a thank you to the Johnston County DSS. We are something new, and new is always different, and they've been very patient with us and gracious as we work together to solve what I feel like was a gap here in Johnston County. In case anyone does not know what Isaiah 117 House is, we provide physical and emotional support for children entering foster care. Our main focus is that removal day time, from the time of children being removed from their home until placement is found. Before Isaiah 117 House, these children were sitting in our DSS office right down the road from here while placement was found. Sometimes that was a couple of hours, sometimes a couple of days, sometimes a couple of weeks. This is no fault to the DSS or to the social workers at all. Honestly, I feel like it's a lack of foster parents here in Johnston County. Today, instead of sitting in an office environment, children can come to our home where they receive clean clothes, a warm meal, trauma-informed volunteers, a safe place to play, and a place where they can feel seen, valued, and cared for. At the same time, our social workers are able to focus on what they do best: finding a safe place for these children and filling out the mountain high of paperwork that is involved in removal day. We also support foster families. When a foster family says yes to a child coming into their home, our volunteers provide all of the tangible things needed for a child entering care. Oftentimes, a child comes with little to no belongings, and so when they leave our home, they leave with 5 to 7 days worth of brand new items, shoes, hygiene items, school supplies, all the things needed to get a child started. Since opening our doors on February 1st, Isaiah 117 has served more than 19 children in our home. We have provided support and encouragement to 80 social workers monthly over the last 3 years. And since February 1st, we have packed those bags of 5 to 7 days worth of brand new items for over 40 foster families here in Johnston County. That's 40 families that could range anywhere from 1 child to 5 children. The main point of this, from the children entering care to the social workers to these foster families, our goal is just to remind them that they're not alone, that there's a community that wants to support and love on them. That's really what I feel like our job at Isaiah 117 House has been, is to bridge that gap between the Johnston County community who steps up every time a need is put in front of them. I've gotten to see it over and over again the last 3 years. You tell Johnston County that there's a need and a specific need, and they're going to meet it every time. And so we're grateful for the way that this community, business owners have stepped up to serve the children entering care here in Johnston County. As our community continues to grow, so does the need. More children entering foster care, social workers carrying heavier and heavier caseloads, more foster families stepping forward to say yes. At least that is our prayer, and our goal is that more are going to step forward and say yes. And we want to continue meeting those needs for children with excellence, compassion, and consistency. Support through the county's nonprofit grant helped us open this home, and we have requested additional funding to continue this process. We want to be able to make sure our volunteers are trained and ready to serve these children, that they're prepared and ready. We want to be able to make sure that our home has all of the things that a child needs to make that transition easier for foster families. In closing, I just want to share a story about a foster family who reached out to us after they received placement, after they said their yes to children coming to their home. It was actually the next morning that they reached out to us to let us know that they had 3 children who entered their home who had stopped at the Isaiah 117 house first. This was not their first placement at all. They had had a lot of other foster care placements, and they said it was the first time that it was an easy entrance into their home because these children entered at bedtime. They had everything they needed for 5 to 7 days worth of brand new items. They had already had dinner and baths and were in pajamas, ready to get settled in for that night. Personally, as someone who was a foster parent, I also imagine how much easier that yes is. Saying yes to a child who has already gotten everything they need instead of having to run around doing the logistical part of getting a child ready, and just being able to welcome them in and again let them know they are not alone and that they are loved and cared for in the home that is saying yes to them. So thank you guys again for your time. I really appreciate it and appreciate all you do for Johnston County.
Thank you.
What's the breakdown as far as children versus families?
Yeah, so we've served 19 children in our home. We have packed bags for over 100 children. And again, that's just either dropping them at DSS. We've also partnered with local licensing agencies who license other foster families in Johnston County. So they'll reach out to us and say, hey, a family in Johnston County just accepted placement of 5 kids. Can you pack bags? And the foster family comes and picks it up.
Is there a specific age range that you've had, or average age range that you've been dealing with?
No, sir. We serve 0 to 18, and it has been kind of all over the board in terms of who we've served.
Good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments for Ms. Gay? All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Next on our agenda is Bright Mind Behavioral Health Center. And, Godwin, you're welcome to come up. Good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Good.
So good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, and member of the Johnston County community. My name is Tatum Godwin, and I am the founder of Bright Minds Behavioral Health Center, a new organization dedicated to serving the mental health needs of our children and adolescents here in Johnston County. Today, I am here to ask you for more than just funding. I am asking you to help save the lives of our children in our community. Right now across North Carolina and even here in Johnston County, children are silently drowning in depression, anxiety, trauma, abuse, self-harm, and suicidal thoughts. And far too many families can't get the help they need in time. A child in crisis should not have to wait for months for counseling. A parent should not have to drive hours away to find the psychiatric care they need for their child. And no family should have to bury their child, daughter or son, because the support came too late. But unfortunately, that is the reality we are facing today. Johnston County is one of the fastest growing counties in North Carolina, now home to more than 250,000 residents. Nearly 1/4 of our population is under the age of 18, meaning tens and thousands of our children and adolescents call this county home. Yet the need for mental health continues to grow, and resources need to become available. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death for our youth ages 10 to 18, right here in Johnston County. Nearly 40% of our high school students report the precise feeling of sadness and hopelessness. And the heartbreaking truth is many of our children entering our juvenile justice system are not criminals first. They are children with untreated mental health needs. And according to our North Carolina juvenile justice data, nearly every child committed to a youth development center has at least one mental health diagnosis. These children are battling depression, children suffering from abuse and neglect, and children who need therapy, support, safety, and intervention long before they ended up in our courtrooms, our hospitals, and even our detention centers. Commissioners, our children are crying for help today. And families in Johnston County are desperate for these resources. Between 2014 and 2024, Johnston County has seen 358 violent deaths, and 266 of those have been suicides, nearly 75%. Suicide claimed more lives in our county than homicide and many forms of violent death combined. These are not numbers, these are our neighbors, our friends, our families, and in some cases, our children. Bright Minds Behavioral Health Center was created to answer that call. We are building a trauma-informed nonprofit specifically for our children and adolescents 0 to 18, a place where our young people can receive counseling, crisis intervention, emotional support, family services, and mental health education in a safe and compassionate environment. A place where children are reminded they matter. A place where families are not turned away because they cannot afford the help they need. A place that is focused on prevention before the tragedy happens. Today, I come before you requesting an investment from our county commissioners. We are in the final phases before opening. We are currently hiring our staffing, the rest of our staffing, and we are requesting a $10,000 funding from our county commissioners. And as I was saying, this would help us with our counseling and crisis support for our children under the age of 18. My organization is opening to doors for those families that don't have a lot, that are less fortunate, to come so they are not turned away, to make sure those children receive the support they need. This is not just an expense, it's an intervention, a prevention. This is the saving our child's lives before they become the statistics in our county. Because every child we reach is potentially one less suicide in our county, one less hospitalization in our county, and one less child entering our juvenile justice system, and one more child that has hope in their future. I was born and raised right here in Johnston County, and I love this community with everything in me. I've been a guardian at Lytton. I've served in the Ronald McDonald House over 5,000 hours. I've become a youth mental health instructor, a suicide prevention instructor. And I started this nonprofit because I saw the gaps. I saw our families struggling. I saw our children hurting, and I wasn't going to sit back and do nothing. Today, I ask you to stand with us, to stand with our children that are silently suffering behind closed doors, to stand with the overwhelmed parents searching for answers in our county, and to stand with the youth who feel forgotten, alone, and hopeless. Because one conversation, one counselor, one safe space can change and save a child's life forever. Johnston County's children deserve access to hope, and they deserve access to healing. And they deserve adults willing to fight for them and be in their corner. Thank you for your time, for your leadership, and your consideration. We look forward to working with all of you on behalf of my board and our executive directors. Together, I believe we can be the light and be the change that the children deserve to have. So God bless y'all, and God bless Johnston County.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Ms. Godwin?
I've got a couple of questions, Tatum.
Yes.
Your address here is 515 North 8th Street. Is that where your facility is?
It
Will
is.
be?
We do have a building. We are ready for opening. We are located right behind the hospital here. So we're very convenient to the mental health side. They just opened. So if we are needing to send our clients to further treatment, we have the access. I have connected with Johnston County Public Schools Isaiah 117 Partnership for Children. We're all ready to join in partnership at the beginning of our opening day.
Have you targeted any specific age? I know you said adolescents, but is there any specific age?
I will say right now the ages 10 to 18 is in very big need of mental health support. Just in the last 6 months, I've received 10 phone calls waiting for the doors to open. There are families, that don't have everything that they need. And with my organization and the funding, we're hoping to turn no child away. And with that funding, they will be able to receive the treatment they need. That way the families can continue to put food on the table for them and are not having to choose between putting a food on the table or getting their child the counseling services they need.
Any other questions or comments for Ms. Goblin? All right. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
y'all.
Wonderful presentation.
Thank you. All right, next we have Johnston County Visitors Bureau. Aaron Mullins, our Executive Director. Is that your title, Executive Director? Is that what it is?
It's a president and CEO, but I'll go with
President and CEO.
executive
I was
director
close.
as well.
I was close. Welcome this morning.
And janitor,
Thank you.
probably.
And Janet, that's right, whatever needs to be done, utility player.
That's right.
As you know. Mr. Chairman, commissioners, really appreciate your time this morning. Over my career, I've learned that best decisions are really made when you have the best information. And over the past several years, the Johnston County Visitors Bureau, we've partnered with departments across the county to better understand how people move throughout the county and how those impacts really, how that movement really impacts our local economy. The platform that we're using to do this is called Placer AI. And for those who are unfamiliar with what Placer AI is all about, simply put, it's like a Google Analytics for the real world. To click down a little bit more, Placer AI uses anonymous aggregated location data, which helps us in partnership with county municipalities and all of our tourism partners to really understand where visitation patterns across our downtowns, our parks, our attractions, events, and business districts, where those take place. What really began for us as a tourism tool, though, over the last several years has evolved into really a countywide strategic asset. And today, that data supports economic development. It's helping to support downtown revitalization, infrastructure planning, parks and recreation, as well as grant applications, and other key initiatives by providing real-world insights and real-time insights that's really helping to guide smarter, better decisions. To speak a little bit more to this, I've asked our Marketing and Communications Vice President, Ashby Bram, to say a few words as well.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So we have worked with Placer and our account rep for 2 years now, and so we have worked this year to negotiate the best deal, bundling the spending data add-on that we would like to add to our plan with our current annual fee for Placer. So the total is going to come to $66,500, split two ways, which would be $33,250 each. As Aaron mentioned, we began our relationship with Placer because we wanted regular access to hard data about how visitors move around our county and towns, where they come from, general information about who they are, and now how much and where they spend their money. But in opening up Placer and our Placer account to our tourism partners, our municipal partners, and our county counterparts, it's become clear to us that Placer provides a benefit to all of us. We use Placer in our marketing decisions and have since we gained access to it. It tells us down to the zip code where our visitors come from and in which markets it would be most beneficial for us to focus our marketing efforts. But we have also used Placership in partnership with the county's Open Spaces Department to look at trail access numbers and park usage, helping them to answer questions about boat ramp access and which communities might benefit most from the new county park. We have also worked with chambers, downtown associations, and parks and rec departments to help our towns ascertain which recreational assets are being used and when by residents, how many people attend local festivals and events and how long they stay, as well as how many overnight visitors our towns may be losing to other markets. All great information to have from an economic development perspective. We've worked with local police departments and other entities to provide information that they need for grant applications, for master plans, and for feasibility studies. And we also feel that the spending data we're adding onto our Placer account will provide more nuanced and layered information, helping our partners and us to make more informed decisions about our marketing and development decisions.
Thank you, Ashby. So because of all of this and the strong partnership that we've developed across the county and with our municipalities and with our community stakeholders, we're proposing a shared 26-27 investment that Ashby just sort of broke down. That's really going to expand our ability not only to leverage location data, but really to leverage spend data, which is going to give us a really holistic view of what's happening around the county. For us, tourism is more about just marketing our destination, which is something we're certainly focused on every day. It's also about really understanding the economic activity and, more important, the opportunity that we all have to work together for a stronger future for our county. So thank you for your time, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Mullins?
Was the request for 66 or for 33?
For 33.
Okay.
Sir.
Thank you.
Be a shared budget.
Gotcha.
And will it be a one-time, or will there be an annual?
That's an annual cost.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
No, I was just going to say, based on the prior discussions with Mr. Mullins, that I could see a lot of uses for the county and a lot of requests from the county to take a look at information as we're trying to figure things out and see where people are coming from and where they're going to help us make informed decisions. So
I appreciate that, and per those discussions, something I would also like to point out, we're receiving those requests throughout our office, and so this would not, require any additional staffing on the county side. We provide that service. It's something we feel it's important for us to do as a partner to the county.
yeah, but just along those lines, one thing that we were able to do through our Parks and Greenways Department was take a look at the regional park in the Cleveland area and look and see where the current trips to the GCAA facilities are. And it is not limited to just the Macklemore Fire District. There are folks coming from pretty good ways away across the county to visit that facility. So it was very interesting to see that and be able to do that for other future projects and just for information purposes for us to make good decisions. I think it's a wise investment.
I agree with Vice Chairman Lauder. I think it's very interesting data, and it's already being utilized by the county departments in our towns and chambers of commerce and downtown development corporations and so forth. And I think this enhancement to that would make it even more usable data. So I think it's a great partnership with our tourism authority as well. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Mullins and his group? Thank you, sir, for the great job y'all are doing, and we appreciate you being here.
Excellent. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak on the budget to come forward at this time, please? All right, seeing none, any emails, Madam Clerk? All right. This time I'll close the public hearing. There will be additional meetings for budget on Monday, June 1st, today at 6 p.m., our regular meeting, including the budget discussions, and then Monday, June 15th at 6 p.m. with anticipated budget adoption. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda is the Partnership for Children of Johnston County, a proclamation for Summer Learning Week. And Heather, is it Micaiah?
It's Heather Maishi, but
Maishi.
Janelle is going to talk on our behalf.
All right, I'm just going by my notes,
Yeah,
so
that's
we'll switch. Come on up. There you go. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So yes, my name is Janelle Stevenson. I am a parent volunteer that I work with Partnership for Children. And yes, we are here for our National Summer Learning Week proclamation. This year, the Learning Week proclamation is July 6th through the 11th of 2026, and it's a celebration dedicated to the advocacy and awareness aimed at elevating the importance of keeping kids learning safe and healthy through their summer. Our group started focusing primarily on summer. We wanted to make sure that kids still had opportunities to learn when they weren't in school, and we've been able to expand that to year-round. So that's been pretty awesome. I wanted to share with you some of the things that we have already done this year and some of the things that we've got a lot happening this summer, actually. We work with a lot of the local churches, and we combine with them, and we add on to their happenings, and we are able to provide books for children at these things for over the Christmas break. We've done things over Easter break. We've already done our Book for Summer, which we do at the end of the year, and we use our target schools where we provide books for children. We focus on second graders, but this year we were actually able to do second, first, kindergarten, and pre-K, and all those children get to go home with books. And then we worked with the local libraries, and we kind of help facilitate those children getting access to what the libraries are offering over the summer as well. We learned about the Duke Endowment. It's a program where it's mostly through Methodist churches, where they can do some like summer literacy activities. And one of our local churches was able to apply and get accepted for this program. It's the Elizabeth United Methodist Center, or United Methodist Church. And they have about 20 students that they're going to work with through the Swift Creek Elementary School this year. So we're pretty excited about that. And we have other churches that are in line to add this on for next summer. We have, again, we're bringing back our Summer Literacy Infusion Program. We have 5 sites this year. This is our 3rd year doing it. We got the Boys and Girls Club in Selma, the Wilson Mills Arc Childcare, the Village in Selma, and the 2 of the YMCA centers are adopting this program. And we've actually seen that at least 88% of students who were in this program, they either maintained or improved their reading levels. So that's been pretty awesome. I'm excited that we are doing a train safety program this year. It's a program that I actually learned a lot from as an adult, and so this is something that I thought that our children should learn from, and we're hosting this at the Selma Fire Station, and then we're going to walk over to the Selma train station so they can kind of see that. And it's just some really good train safety that honestly everybody should review. That's going to be in June. We are also partnering with a local Birds of Prey group, and they're going to give an interactive presentation to our children, and that's going to be at the Sarah Yard Center in Smithfield on June 24th. That's actually a lot of fun as well. He brings live birds and they get to interact with them. Of course, we'll be doing our Pause for Reading program, which is over the National Summer Learning Week. A lot of the kids really like to do that because they get to adopt a fun stuffed animal with the promise that they're going to read 20 minutes a day. So it's just another fun way of increasing reading over the summer. Last year we had almost 500 kids participate in this. This year we've added some more partners. Usually we do that through libraries, but we've added some local like dance groups that are doing summer programs. So that's pretty fun. This is our 5th year holding it. We usually have celebrity readers. Thank you, Butch Lauder, for your 3rd year for helping us with that. And then we're actually also working with the Pine Knoll Shores Aquarium, and they're going to bring a program to Johnston County for our kids. They're going to have, I think this one is focused mostly on our native turtles. That's going to be also at the Sarah Yard Center in August. So of course, all of this is funded by our county funding, so we always appreciate your support. I've been with Partnership for probably almost 10 years now. I started as bringing my kids, and just to be able to see this committee grow has been a lot of fun, and seeing what we can offer and what we can give to our community. And, yeah, so thank you for declaring the National Summer Learning Week proclamation.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
How do you identify the schools you target for this support? Is it the EOG scores and that sort of thing?
I'm going to ask Heather the specifics on that.
Okay.
So we definitely follow data. We look at data for all of our teams for Read to Grow Johnston County. And so for are you talking about the data for the book for summer for our child?
Yeah.
So we took the beginning of year, third grade reading proficiency scores. And then we are trying to go where the data is. And so
Right.
we chose those schools that had the lowest reading proficiency for third graders.
Sure.
And that's where we held our targeted initiatives. And that's what we do for all of the teams. For chronic absence, we look at the schools that have the highest chronic absent rate. And then for school readiness, we look at schools that have the lowest incoming kindergarten readiness skills.
Right. Good. Thank you.
Any other questions? I've asked Vice Chairman Lauder to read the proclamation and present it for the board's consideration.
Celebrity read. Right?
So the Liberty Reader. So this is a little tougher to read than the books that I have, so there's a lot of big words in here, so you gotta bear with me. But I will say, this celebrity, July the 7th, I think at 9:30 at the Smithfield Park is the time, and it is a great time. There's a lot of children there, including many of my grandsons, which increases the crowd, but it is a great time. And to sit and watch the children listen to what you're reading is pretty amazing to see, and their enthusiasm, the volunteers' enthusiasm, and staff's enthusiasm for the program is great to see. And with all that said, I will read this proclamation for Summer Learning Week 2026. Whereas high-quality summer learning and enrichment opportunities play a vital role in promoting social and emotional growth, educational recovery, and mitigating learning loss. And whereas Summer Learning Week is a time to reflect on the importance of keeping youth learning safe and healthy every summer, ensuring they return to school in the fall ready to succeed in the year ahead. And whereas summer youth employment programs engage older youth and provide excellent learning opportunities, whether virtual or in person, with the support of business and community leaders, our youth can learn, gain real-world experience, contribute to their community and economy, and experience safer environments through summer jobs, internships, and our volunteering opportunities. And whereas during summer months and school breaks, children can lose what they learn, and students who lose ground in one summer are more likely to lose ground in subsequent summers, creating negative impacts for learners. And whereas parents can help prevent learning loss by reading to their children and encouraging them to read independently throughout school breaks. And whereas summer learning programs are proven to maintain and advance students' academic and social and emotional growth, keep children safe and healthy during the summer, and send young people back to school ready to learn. And whereas a wide array of public agencies, community-based organizations, schools, libraries, museums, recreation centers, camps, and businesses in our community contribute to the well-being of youth through summer programming. And whereas summer learning is a critical component of our collective effort to ensure all students graduate from high school, prepare for college careers and life. Whereas the Johnston County Board of Commissioners encourage all students, parents, caregivers, and people to champion summer learning to support academic achievement for every child in our state. Now, therefore, the Johnston County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim July 6th through the 11th, 2026 as Summer Learning Week in Johnston County, and do commend this observance to all our citizens. Mr. Chairman, I make that in form of a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Proclamation carries. Thank you so much. We appreciate the work you're doing. All right, next we have the Department of Social Services proclamation for Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And my favorite Johnston County DSS Director, Christine Dowdell. I'll ask you to come up, and I think she's got a whole group of folks she's bringing in with her. So, and And I've asked Commissioner Stevens to read this proclamation when we're ready for it. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Good, good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're used to see the big group of smiling
Got the whole group there.
Come on up.
Let's say a little something. I'm LB McKillian. I'm the program manager for Johnston County Adult Services. I want to thank you all for coming out, for supporting this cause. Thank you to the board and the city for recognizing this as well. We in Adult Services try to bring to light the importance of this issue every day. We will have our 11th annual event on June 11th at the Department of Social Services at 10 a.m. So please come out and help us bring awareness to this important issue.
Fantastic. We appreciate you. And Commissioner Stevens?
Proclamation Elder Abuse Awareness Day, June 15th, 2026. Whereas Johnston County's population includes at least 35,000 citizens ages 60 and older in the year 2033, it is projected there will be 53,000 citizens 60 years and older. And whereas Johnston County's older population is a vital, important part of the community that contributes to the social and cultural education of future generations. And whereas older adults deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, serve as leaders, mentors, and volunteers, and live safely and as independently as possible with the supports they need. And whereas elder abuse is most often defined as any act that harms a senior or jeopardizes his or her health, safety, or welfare. And whereas identifying, reporting, and eliminating abuse, neglect, and exploitation to older persons is each community's responsibility. And whereas all residents should watch for signs of physical abuse, withdrawal, depression, anxiety, fear, and living without necessities such as food, heat, air, and medicine, and make it known to proper institutions. Now therefore, we, the Johnston County Board of Commissioners, does hereby proclaim June 15th, 2026 as Elder Abuse Awareness Day in Johnston County and encourages everyone to commit to protecting the safety and future of our older citizens. Adopted this first day of June 2026, and I make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Proclamation carries, and I just want to say thank you to this team. I'm so proud of our DSS group. Y'all are doing amazing work, and I'm thankful that you're in the jobs that you're doing and taking care of the people of Johnston County. We appreciate you.
Amen.
Thank you. And I'm not sure if you all got your T-shirts yet, but we did get you all shirts.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good day. Thanks for coming. All right, item number 7 is Department of Social Services Facility Construction Delivery Method. They might want to hang out in the hall and wait on this one. Our county attorney, Ms. Slusser, is going to present the information on this.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I appreciate the opportunity to be before you this morning to talk about the various delivery methods under consideration for the Johnston County DSS facility. On January the 5th, you approved a design agreement with Mosley Architects for this proposed facility. And facility design is well underway, and the concept design is nearly complete. In fact, I think you may see that at the June 15th meeting, and then you'll be in a position whether you want to move forward with the detailed design process. The contract that we negotiated with Mosley does allow us the flexibility in choosing the construction delivery method for the facility and the related improvements. And the two construction methods that are under consideration are the traditional design, bid, build, and the construction manager at risk. And Mr. Bennett with Mosley Architects talked with you about those two delivery methods some months ago, but because we're close to being complete with the concept design, I wanted to bring that back to you to refresh your recollection and to have some additional conversations and answer any questions that you might have about those two processes. I have with me today the people that are the real experts at this, and that is Daniel Clifton, who was our Buildings and Grounds Director, and he is responsible for all of the facilities in Johnston County. I also have with me Josh Bennett with Mosley Architects, and then finally I have with me Jimmy Boykin with Stevenson Contractors, and he is our owner's representative and has served in that role on numerous projects for Johnston County. And so I am confident that they will be more than happy to help answer any questions as they come up. So I don't want to take any credit for any of the materials that you're going to see today. These are actually materials that were presented to some of you back in September of 2023. And Matt Bouchard is an attorney at Poynter Spruill, and he worked with Catherine Peel in preparing this presentation and gave me permission to use it today. So I appreciate them sharing that work with us and helping refresh our recollection about these things. And so first of all, I want to talk to you about why we're having this conversation. So public procurement is covered under the North Carolina General Statutes, and the Johnston County Finance Office is responsible for all of the financial activities of Johnston County, including all transactions that have to be verified for compliance with lots of things, as Chad would tell you, including the annual budget ordinance, the general statutes, generally accepted government accounting principles, regulatory agency pronouncements, and policies that are adopted by the county. And as stewards of the public funds, the goal is to maximize the value of the public spend. And this is actually a North Carolina case from the Supreme Court that explains why we engage in public contract bidding. So let's talk about the procurement method that we're all most familiar with in Johnston County, and that's the design bid build method. This is actually the most common method that's used by public entities, and the way that this works is that an architect prepares specifications, the county solicits sealed bids, and we award to the lowest responsible bidder with a fixed price. And essentially what that means, a responsive bid meets all of the legal requirements and bid specifications, and a responsible bidder demonstrates that it has the skills, abilities, and resources to complete the project. This is a process that's well suited for projects of all sizes, but best for less complex projects with clear objectives, no significant schedule pressures, and reasonable quality expectations. And this is the method that we have utilized on the previous county projects that we're most familiar with. But there's another method that we have discussed, and as you saw from my previous slide, Matt Bouchard talked with us about, and that is construction management at risk. Under this method, the construction manager, who is a licensed general contractor, provides construction management services and prepares and assists with coordinating bid packages, construction administration, and guarantees the cost of the project. The construction manager at risk acts as a fiduciary to the local government in the handling and awarding of these contracts in conjunction with the architect. And while the construction manager manages the projects, the plans and specifications are drawn by the licensed architect, who contracts directly with the local government. And as you know, we've already approved that design contract with Mosley Architects. The construction manager at risk contract is covered by something called the Minnie Brooks Act, and it's got to be selected using a qualification-based selection process. And that is very similar to the process that we utilize when we select our architects. It's really the same standards. Construction manager at risk is typically best for more complicated projects that could be more difficult from a complexity technology type perspective, or something that might be occupied or phased sites, and sites that have a short duration or complex scheduling hurdles. So it can be used for anything, but those are the kinds of things that perhaps it's most well suited for. And one thing that I did want to point out, that on these public projects, the construction manager at risk does hard bid first tier trade procurement, so packages. And so just wanted to be clear about that. I know there were some questions when I was talking with board members over the years through this process about understanding what costs are in moving forward. And so each of the processes has advantages and disadvantages, and sort of some of the pros of the traditional design bid build is one, that it works for projects of all sizes. The costs are known at the bid time before construction begins, and the project can benefit from low bid procurement. And when thinking about public utility projects, unit bid pricing, because quantities are defined and known prior to procurement. Historically, this method is well-defined and well understood because local governments traditionally use this method. This allows for a prescriptive design process and specifications for greater detail in risk allocation, and it also, the goals are well-defined in the design process, and there's a great deal of owner control with checks and balances. Now, some of the disadvantages, or the cons, so to speak, is that it does require staff to oversee the work. Construction costs are not fixed until the design is 100% complete and it's been bid. Constructability advice and contractor innovations are not available in this process. And there are potential for change orders, longer delivery schedules, and there's some constraint by low bid procurement. It allows for little constructor input. Now, in Johnston County, with the design bid build process that we've utilized in the past, we have done pre-qualification, so all of the bidders that are bidding are qualified to bid on our projects. With regards to construction manager at risk, some of the pros for that, again, these also have been shown to work on projects of all sizes, and they can be used in conjunction with a guaranteed maximum price, which can be useful in negotiating and controlling cost. All of the costs are known by the owner. Early constructor involvement or construction advice can also lead to cost savings through value engineering and constructability reviews. It facilitates a faster delivery schedule, and the construction manager understands and participates in the risk management and allocation during the design. As I mentioned earlier, it is a qualifications-based selection that can align with the team and project goals, and we can work together to finalize the scope and the guaranteed maximum price. It's early involvement by a contractor, but it is two separate contracts, and so I want to be clear about that. So you still have the contract with the architect, but then you would have a separate contract with the construction manager. And of course, the construction manager is paid through this construction management process. And so that is an expense that typically you don't see in the design bid build because they're very separate. Some of the disadvantages, if not managed well, the multiple bid packages can be difficult. Fortunately, our architect and our owner's representative have both worked with design bid build and CMAR, so they are familiar with this process. Costs could grow later if bid packages cost more than they were initially estimated. And when guaranteed maximum price is utilized, the owners sometimes have a little bit of difficulty in negotiating. Conflicts can exist in risk allocation between design, construction, and construction management contracts, and negotiation of a guaranteed maximum price may inhibit alignment of project goals between the agency and the construction manager. Here's just a slide about what is required in the CMAR process, if that is one that is selected, is that you have to conclude that CMAR is in the best interest for the delivery method of the project, and you've got to select based on qualifications-based selection. And then the CMAR will utilize pre-qualification for first-tier subs, work with us in assessing the criteria and tools for the project, and then we'll conduct public bid opening for all subcontractor trade practices, packages. And then we'll award to the lowest responsible, responsive, and pre-qualified bidder because you can pre-qualify in both cases. The CMAR can only self-perform the work if the bidding produces no response of responsible bidders. And if that's the case, then the CMAR has to do performance and payment bonds just like any other project. And I know I went through that really quickly, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to ask any questions and offer to you, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Boykin, or Mr. Clifton for any additional thoughts or comments.
Any questions for Ms. Lesser?
I have a comment. We've had very good results in dealing and hiring Mr. Boykin to represent our interests, and we've had some good results in some fairly large projects with the detention center and the public safety center. So I would rely heavily on his advice in this particular instance as well.
And I will say that we've had a conversation about that, and certainly we see the advantage of both of these methods. From the perspective, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Boykin, he can speak for himself, as we were talking about it last week, we have been successful utilizing the design bid build method. This is an office building that does not require specialized type design, and we've been very successful with the architect that we've utilized in previous projects. And so, and maybe from our perspective, because of the resources that Mr. Boykin provides as the owner's representative, and because of the success that we've had with the architect that we've utilized, we lean towards design bid build, but some of that might be because of our familiarity with the process, and we've not utilized the other process. We talked a little bit about change orders and that sort of thing, because that is one of the things that you are concerned about when you have a design bid build process, because there is not that collaboration between the contractor and the designer on the front end. But I have to say that Mosley Architects did a really good job, and Mr. Boykin did a really good job, and we didn't have a lot of change orders in those previous projects. But again, there are definitely pros that are involved in utilizing the CMAR process as well. And so I guess I say all of those things to say that we lean towards the design bid build because of the guaranteed price that you get, and it's the lowest responsible bid. But there are also there are risks that are associated with that. And so if the board were to choose to go in the CMAR direction, certainly we understand that decision and support it. So it's really whatever is the board's pleasure with regards to that. And I don't know if Mr. Boykin or Mr. Clifton or Mr. Bennett have anything that they want to add to that discussion.
I'm glad to answer any questions that you have.
I would be interested in knowing what those three respective individuals believe is the most appropriate method for this particular project.
I agree.
Gentlemen, let me say, and commissioners, that whichever way you decide to go, I'm more than glad to work with you and continue to work with you on these projects. I've been in this industry over 50 years now, more years than I care to remember. CMAR is relatively new to me. I've done some of it, but I have traditionally done design bid build and done that for a number of years. So we discussed this extensively and tried to look at it from all points of view, see which would be best for our project. And in looking at CMAR, it certainly has advantages on some projects. Normally, they are smaller, private enterprises that require some specialty to it, like a highly technical building or something that you would need a contractor's input who had done something similar before. And in that case, that would be invaluable to us. Our project is, while it is massive in size, is fairly non-complex. It's a fairly simple, it's an office building, fairly repetitive in nature and construction methods. So we did not think that, or I did not think that CMAR was particularly advantageous to us. Now, I would say that under the CMAR system, the CMAR contractor would do many of the things that I've been doing for you on these previous projects. And would do for you again if we go design, bid, build, to hold down change orders, to represent you and the taxpayers of Johnston County in spending money, which we're all concerned with. I would say that time is not an issue for us. I don't think we're being evicted from any of our office buildings right now. So that normally is a consideration for CMAR, because with CMAR, you can phase things. You can actually start construction before the final design is finished. But I don't know that that's needed in our case. And then there is the idea that, and you as politicians will appreciate this, in the era we live in, transparency has become an extremely important thing to look at. With the design bid, the bids are public, the bids are open, their bidders are pre-qualified, but in the end, we open the bids and everybody knows who the low bidder was. CMAR is a little more subjective when it comes to selecting the contractor, and it opens us up to some subjective things. So, you know, from that standpoint, maybe you want to consider that. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have about either one of the delivery methods. My colleagues would too, I'm sure. I'm a little bit hoarse. I had 2 speaking engagements yesterday.
We appreciate your candidness,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Boykin.
Any questions or comments, Mr.?
I'm gonna hold my question till I hear from those two gentlemen.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, go right ahead.
Thank you all for having us today. Just to offer my opinion, again, I've spoken at length with Daniel and Mr. Boykin about this process. At Mosley, we have involved ourselves in projects from design build, design bid build, and construction manager at risk, and agree with Mr. Boykin's sentiments that this is a fairly straightforward project. We have successfully bid projects like this before in design bid build scenarios. The main motivator we would see for construction manager at risk on this project would be because of its size. However, those concerns could be assuaged through pre-qualification of general contractors. So that seems to be the good middle ground between the two delivery methods, and I believe I'm in agreement with Mr. Boykin that that design bid build delivery method with pre-qualification of your general contractors would be the best route to go.
Thank you.
I'll agree, well, both of them. Mr. Jimmy accurately defined where we're at, I think. Just going off of past projects and the success we've had off of the detention center and the public safety center, and the low rate, very low rate ratio of change orders that we had on those two.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add, we're not asking you for a decision today. We want to make sure all of your questions are answered and then allow you to take that under advisement. And if you choose to move forward, then you can make that decision on June the 15th. And I'll
Okay.
step back for questions.
Professionally, I've had extensive experience in both bidding methodologies, but I was typically dealing with some highly complex projects that had a lot of specialized systems on them. That's why I think that the CMAR risk has its advantages in that particular situation. The only thing that I've seen where it has advantages over your standard design bid build is when you have volatility in the material and subcontractor market. And there's been much more of that in recent years. As to whether or not that is applicable to this particular project, I'm going to have to really defer to our design team, but I know that there's certain systems or materials themselves that they're not on-the-shelf items any longer. Electrical switchgear is one. Last I heard, typically the delivery time on switchgear was going to be 8+ months, if not longer. I have seen volatility in copper prices in the past that where prices were only good for 24 hours. These are the type of things that by having a contractor who's got his finger on the pulse of the market, that they can readily advise the design team and you can react nimbly to these types of challenges to control your cost. Whether or not we're going to have those type of issues in this project, I can't really forecast that, but I think the potential is there. Now, I'm going to defer to our designer on that particular issue, but I think there are some advantages to if you have those types of conditions other than complexity of the job itself. We do have a need to do site work out here. There's some advantages to being able to move that forward, and that site work is going to affect not only this building, but other future buildings out there. So phasing of the work, that may be one avenue we look at here in that regard. But I agree that the building itself generally should not be overly complex. It's an office building. But the campus itself has got some complexity to it. So that's my 2 cents today.
Anyone else?
I did have a couple of comments as well. You had mentioned pre-qualification of general contractors. Under the traditional design bid build, one of the concerns I have is there's not pre-approval of subs. So that is a risk in my mind that we need to consider when we're looking at that, whereas, as I understand it, in the CMAR process, the first tier subs are part of the evaluation process. And to Commissioner Stovall's point, they tend to have their pulse closer on what's going on in the market. Also, I like my surprises in the middle, not at the end. And the thing I worry about in the traditional, due to some of the things that Commissioner Stovall mentioned, is bid day you get the number, and you've got to figure out what to do under the CMAR process. I think we've seen that with the public schools and Wilson Mills High School, that we got a surprise fairly much in the middle, and we're able to work back to the number that we needed it to be at without sacrificing a whole lot. I agree. I don't know what the lead times on any of the things are going to be when we get to that point, but I think to me, there's fewer chances for surprise when you open the bids, and I think you mentioned transparency too, and I think there's as part of the process, there will be first-tier subs that have bids to review.
Yes.
That will be public as well. So it's not like one is in the dark and the other. It's just a different process to get to those numbers. And you can do the grade package first, and you can bid different things at different times and keep it going on. Because I dare say the urgency, if I look on this side of the room, maybe a little more than any of us sitting up here, but it's something we've been talking about for many, many years about getting started on that. So while time is not the critical part of this project, I think it's an important part to move forward on it. So, but I appreciate the information, and I think we can discuss it some more as a board. But I do appreciate the information on both processes.
Any other questions or comments for on this topic? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, the board will take the information under advisement, and then we'll make a decision at a later time.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate y'all. Item number 8 is Emergency Services Johnston County Fire Station Location Study. I see our director, Ryan Parker, coming up to the front. You've got a whole group of folks with you that I'm sure you'll introduce, so. Good morning.
Absolutely.
Well, it's afternoon now.
Afternoon.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. We're very excited to be here today. This project's been a long time coming. As Commissioner Harris said, I have Deputy Director Mr. Josh Hoffman, got Fire Marshal Travis Johnston, and the county staff played an excellent role in gathering information for this fire station study. Not just emergency services, but 911 staff also, and our EMS staff. And one thing that I want to be known is that the fire departments have historically done a fantastic job in providing the services from their current fire station locations. What really brought on the need for this study is instead of pulling out of 26 different tax districts, now we're pulling out of one. And we have 23 contracted fire departments, and we already have 36 departments that respond from those. We have 36 stations, excuse me. And as the county continues to grow, there's going to be a need for more fire stations, and we know that. Everybody in this room knows that. But what we wanted to do is to see where we could plan for those in the future. So the board graciously allowed us to contract with Mosley Architecture, and I have Mr. Josh Bennett here representing Mosley Architecture, and he also brought on Matrix Consulting, Mr. Robert Finn. So I will allow these individuals to speak for themselves, and I look forward to any questions or comments that we can answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again. So this is not typically something an architect does, but it is adjacent to what we do, and it's fire station location studies. The RFP for the county had several other services listed in it, such as site test fits and building condition assessments and those sorts of things. But when we saw the station location study portion of it, we knew exactly who to call, having worked with Mr. Finn in the past and his crew. Chief Finn is both fire and police and I think FBI. Is that, so he has a long list of public safety experience that he's put to use to develop this study, and we're very appreciative to have him on the team, and we're looking forward to the next steps with you all. So I'll let Mr. Finn run us through the results of that study.
All right, thank you. Morning, afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Keep saying morning now.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak to the commission today about the findings of our fire station location study. The interesting thing, especially when you're dealing with a countywide fire system, as you guys know, fire is a factor of time and distance. You got fixed facilities where the fire stations are located, and they've got to respond to where the emergency occurs. So typically in more urbanized settings, there's closer proximity of fire stations, the response times are slower, and as you get into more rural areas, response times are longer. So we used three different factors as we looked at your county. The urban centers where the risk profile or population densities were such that the timely response were needed, then more of a suburban setting when you're looking at 500 to 1,000 population density, mostly housing or typical office type shopping centers and those kinds of risks. And then the more rural areas of the county where things are more spread out, and your predominantly mostly volunteer response model exists today. So that allows you to look at this 15-year plan and phase it in as growth occurs. So as an area switches from rural to suburban and those response times need to be shorter, emergency services, as well as you can understand why that's the time for the need for change, because of the development coming in and the changes in the demographics of each specific area. So during this project, we split the county up into several different planning zones that are currently either urban, suburban, or rural, to allow us to discuss each one of the planning zones and the needs for each one of those planning zones, both today and then through the next 15 years of proposed growth. I think it's important to note that this is a guide. You know, when we're talking to your community development and planning folks and they're telling us what is on the books and what's coming, sometimes those projects don't actually show up. So if there was a proposed neighborhood of 10,000 homes and that doesn't get built and it remains a field, you're not going to need a fire station in that 10-year time frame when we talked about, this is probably the point at which this is going to trigger. So keep in mind that the plan is flexible, and if growth doesn't occur, risk profiles don't change, then you've got a great system in place today, and you can slow down or speed up any need based on how that growth occurs. So we'll talk about the study objectives, what we found, and then the strategic initiatives that we had for improvements, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, as well as Mr. Bennett, if you guys get deep into the woods on what things are going to cost. He's better with the dollars on these buildings than I am. I'm better with the locations. So a little bit about us. We've been around 21 years. Have worked in 42 states. Have done 400 fire and EMS studies, and about 100 of those have been countywide studies everywhere from the East Coast to just wrapped one up in Napa County, California, so, and everywhere in between.
I didn't think they had fire stations in California.
It depends,
That's
you
a
know,
bad
so,
joke.
we've been to some that have burnt down. So,
Oh, man.
is this still a good spot for it? So, yeah, they definitely have some different risks. So the project started off with initiation and input, and that's meeting with all the stakeholders. We came into the county, got data from the various fire departments, 911, emergency services, different county departments, to help shape our understanding of the current conditions. And in doing that, we toured every fire station, met with each one of the different service providers, and developed an as-is state. So that's volume one, about 367 pages. If you're having trouble sleeping one night, that's a great place to start. So it talks about how they're staffed, organized, what the governance model is, shows you their current stations, the condition assessment and everything we did for each one of those. And then we moved into a community risk assessment. And what that does is it took each one of those planning zones and allowed us to assign scores for community risk. So what are the risks present in this particular area? And then what impact do those have on emergency services in terms of service delivery? So, for example, a single-family home typically takes 15 to 16 firefighters on scene to effectively mitigate a house fire. If you turn that into a 50-story high-rise, now you're talking about 60 people needing to be on scene in the first 10 minutes to mitigate it. So as buildings get bigger or they go vertical, it takes more personnel to mitigate the emergencies. So we're looking at each different thing from skilled nursing to assisted living to schools, hospitals, and all the different risk factors that are present in the community to determine the impact of each one of these planning zones on emergency services. Then we looked at and analyzed deployment, which looks at how well the current station network and deployment model is working to mitigate those risks. Then what were the operational and capital needs? So when we toured the fire stations, we conducted a facility assessment that was then put into our scoring tool to rate each facility in terms of whether it's in excellent condition, good condition, fair condition, poor condition. Does it meet the needs of the planning zone today, as well as the future growth that's planned? So some of the volunteer stations in phase two, we talk about adding living quarters, because as development occurs, it's probably going to have to become a career station and doesn't have the living quarters for personnel, but the station itself is in a good location and is suitable for renovation. So you'll see that throughout the document. And then ultimately working with emergency services and the fire departments through interim deliverable reviews and draft report reviews, came to the draft and final reports, which we're presenting today. So you can see your fire station and EMS locations are scattered throughout the county. There's some of the fire stations co-locate with EMS, and then there's other EMS stations which are standalone. You can see that today your fire station numbering system is, each department has a station one, a station two, and it becomes confusing as you look at the map of why there's so many station ones, because everybody's got a station one. And so we talked about some ways to improve that, to make it better known throughout the system who's responding, is now that you've got this kind of a countywide approach to response. You can see your call demand over the years has increased roughly 12% since 2022. Not surprising. Your population has also increased from roughly a little over 200,000 to 250,000 is the current estimate over the past 6 years. So as growth continues to occur, more people move in, there's more opportunities for medical events, car crashes, and other incidents which require a fire and EMS response. So it's not surprising that the call demand has risen over that time period. When you look at the fire department emergency call demand, you can see the map on the left is your population density. So everything kind of north and west of 95 is where your population density occurs. And that also aligns with the call demand as you get down toward the south and eastern portion of the counties where it's more rural. the density of call volume decreases. And that holds true again for emergency medical calls. Both align well with the population centers. So that's why you can see the use of population density as one of the decision factors for station needs, and more rapid responses makes sense in the fire and EMS world. So when we looked at the physical hazards in the county, you can see we broke the county into those 12 planning zones like I talked about. And you can see the more populated planning zones typically had the higher call demand. So, for example, Planning Zone 1 had about 12% of the population, covered about 22% of the county area, and then 14% of the physical hazards, and accounted for about 12% of the call demand. When you look at Zone 4, it's got a little higher population. It's got a higher percentage of physical hazards, but it actually had a lower percent of the call demand because of its smaller footprint in terms of the area.
What do you mean by physical hazard?
So physical hazards, churches, libraries, schools, hospitals. So each we work with the fire marshal's office to come up with a list of
topographical features.
No.
Okay.
No. So those are a different risk that you've got, and we'll talk a lot about that in a minute. So like, for example, flooding is the highest risk factor. When we looked at the county overall, we've got a lot of waterways that run throughout the county, and with the various flood zones, flooding poses the highest risk. So having, in this case, you would look at that and say, well, if I was here to accredit you guys, it'd be, do you have a swift water rescue team? Do you have the appropriate resources to mitigate the risks associated with the flooding? The other area of concern is your aging population. You can see the percentage tracks, census tracks with populations over 65, and a great deal of the county has that aging population over 65. And that's going to impact your EMS service demands as population ages. They use emergency medical services more, but importantly also is that fire departments are a first responder to that EMS component. So depending on the severity of the EMS call, they'll also be responding with fire services.
Could I ask you to back up one slide to the funding poses the highest risk? Could you give me a little more information on what that means?
So we're talking about natural hazards in the community. For example, earthquakes and wildfire weren't your highest risks. Flooding was the highest risk in terms of a natural disaster.
Natural disasters.
Mm-hmm.
I find that interesting. We revised our stormwater runoff roads here recently and made them more intensive because we're seeing greater instances of flash flooding and rainfall instance, the intensity. The amount of overall rainfall in the year has not really changed that much, but the intensity of the rainfall has. And we've had quite a few deaths over the years of people that got vehicles washed off the road. So slowing the rate of runoff has been a particular concern of mine from an engineering perspective.
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing happening in Texas where I'm from. The storms are brief, but they're violent.
Yes.
And the amount of rain in an hour is more than anything can handle.
Thank you.
So the next thing that you look at when you're evaluating the system is how quickly can the first unit arrive on scene. So we've got the urban core kind of broken out on the map on the left, and then the more rural areas on the map on the right. And you can see, even in the urban core, you've got drive times as high as 12 to 16 minutes. So we look at a number of factors when we're analyzing fire and EMS service delivery. The first is the call processing. So how quickly does your dispatch center take the call and let fire and EMS services know that the call exists? Because the faster they do that to the customer on the back end, the sooner you've shown up. If you can take that down from 2 or 3 minutes to a minute, it looks like you're getting there up to 2 minutes faster. The next is turnout times. So National Fire Protection Association has a target of 80 seconds for staffed career staff fire stations to turn out, and then 1 minute for EMS stations. When we looked at those, yours were a little longer. So again, if you implement that sense of urgency and crews get to the apparatus a minute or two quicker and start that response, now between dispatch and just getting the units rolling, you could see a 2 to 3 minute improvement in response times. And to the person experiencing the emergency, it appears that you're getting there 2 to 3 minutes quicker. When we get to the travel time performance, it's a byproduct of where the station is, the road network, the weather, and where the call is. So not really controllable without improving the road network, building more fire stations, adding additional apparatus. So that's when it becomes the more expensive endeavor. The first two controllable, you can implement improvements, and those get fixed quickly, whereas this takes time and money to fix. So we looked and analyzed the initial drive time performance, and then the next piece is the effective response force. So how quickly can you get enough people on scene to mitigate the emergency effectively? So we take all those things into account together so that at the end we make the best decisions for what's a more immediate need and what can wait till a later period of time to address. Again, EMS drive time performance, they've got a goal of 11 minutes. You can see that's the 10.5-minute drive time goal. So typically, they're able to meet that drive time performance in most areas of the county if their unit's not committed. So call concurrence and drawdown from other stations also impacts your actual travel time performance when it comes to when the calls occur. So when we looked at the strategic improvement recommendations, the first thing we looked at was implementing a countywide numbering system. So you'll see in the report that we have recommended numbers for the stations and apparatus so that when you say, engine 23 is responding, you'll know which area that's responding from instead of having to say, the town or fire company name and then, engine one. You got a lot of engine ones running around this county. So doing that countywide and implementing that so that you know who's responding, and it's a lot clearer for the dispatch to know who first due, second due, third due is as they're dispatching companies. And then we recommended a phased approach to new station planning. Phase one, and I should say new station and also renovating old stations, but phase one are areas that either are experiencing an issue with first due travel time performance, ability to form an effective response force, and you're not meeting current expectations for the types of service area, or they're in an area that growth is projected to occur in the short term, and there will be impacts to incident call demand and increased call demand and potential travel time performance in the next few years. Phase two addressed more facility and staffing needs on our refurbishing stations or where growth is planned later. So past the next 5 to 10 years, growth is going to come later, and different station improvements or new stations will be located. And then phase three is long-term, which is really, keep an eye on it, understand that some of the areas in phase three, if somebody shows up at your next meeting and says, I'm proposing this, and it happens to be in one of those areas that wasn't projected to grow, there may be need to speed that up. But if growth continues to occur according to the current plan, then those will be longer term, longer than 10 to 15 years before those kinds of changes are needed. So you can see in phase one, there's 8 stations in need in urban planning zones that are in need of station improvements or new stations, and 4 in the rural areas of the county. When it gets to phase two, you can see most of those, it's either replacing stations or doing an expansion or renovation of a current facility due to the projected need for career staff to be in a volunteer station, the projected need for co-location of an EMS unit with your fire units. And I think it's important to note that the way your emergency services are operating, it's seamless. So fire and EMS work well together. The co-location is working well in the county in the areas where that is versus the individual stations. And that's something that because of the success of that model, we built into this planning too. It makes more sense to add a bay for an ambulance and some living quarters than it would be to construct a complete new facility. And then when you get into phase 3, again, this is long-term. It's a long list. So if the county continues to grow at the rate it's growing now and is projected, there's a number of stations or renovations to stations that will be needed over that 15-year planning period, much longer term to address the needs for fire services in the county. We also did look at some EMS needs. So relocating 3 EMS stations from fire stations to their own facilities where fire departments are projected to need the expansion to grow into the current EMS space, replacing 2 current EMS stations that are obsolete, expanding the EMS system with 2 new facilities, expanding space in 2 fire stations to accommodate EMS needs, and then going to a more centralized asset storage to improve the operational efficiency of the EMS system versus the decentralized approach they're using now. And then again, there's 9 different priorities for the needs for EMS as it relates to the station needs and relocation or reconfiguration of stations related to EMS in the county. And with that, just wanted to give you a high-level view. I know between the 300 pages in the current state and the 167 pages in the body of the report, there's a lot of information, a lot to digest, but I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission has.
The criteria that you used for the fire station locations, does it mirror the ISO requirements, or is that separate?
So there's 3 different things that we looked at. So you got National Fire Protection Association NFPA standards. So 1710 deals with career staffed, one-size-fits-all, 4-minute travel time expectation. 1710 combination or all volunteer, where at least half the response is a volunteer model. No turnout time expectation. It allows for longer travel times because of typically the more rural nature of the volunteer response system. The other component we look at is Center for Public Safety Excellence. So it ties in with the part of NFPA that says 4 minutes, or the authority having jurisdiction, in this case being the board, can set local performance standards. And that's what we did working with emergency services. They thought 4-minute NFPA 1710 standard was appropriate in urban. A lot of communities choose 5 to allow, because 4 is difficult for a lot of communities to afford to meet. Then in the suburban, they went to 6 minutes. We usually see 6 or 6.5 minutes in suburban is typically what's adopted. And then in the rural, 8 minutes, and typically 8 to 10 is acceptable for most people in a rural setting for that. So we used those 2 primarily, knowing that ISO, if you adopt service level performance standards for your community and have a plan to meet them, so that's what that is, the plan to meet them, then they accept those. So for example, where I was fire chief, we were 5 minutes in the urban, 6:30 for our suburban, and we really didn't have much rural except for the lake area, so anything bordering the lakefront where there were no roads, we set that at 12 minutes because it was difficult to get to. Either you were riding on a Kawasaki mule to get back in the woods, or you're hoofing it on foot. So it's not an easy one to guess how long it's going to take you to get there. So and that was acceptable both as an accredited agency and achieved an ISO 1 using those. So you don't have to be that 4-minute everywhere, one-size-fits-all standard to do that. So we use those 3 in connection with each other, and then make sure that in our recommendations, the fire department is doing the training, the other things, which yours is, to maximize the potential ISO points for the non-emergency response components.
All right, any questions or comments concerning the study?
There's a lot of information.
Yeah.
I have been through a lot of information.
Well, I was just trying to cure any insomnia that the group might have, so hopefully we did our job.
Accomplished that. Thank you.
Yeah, so I did have one question. So in other areas that you work, it seems to me for the public, and I know emergency services folks do a really good job of putting information on their website historically. So is there some way the public, I don't know, an interactive map where if they live in such, they could look and see where existing stations are, where they are planned?
So yet, there are GIS tools available. Now, I'm not 100% sure what your GIS folks in the county are, but through S3, there is the ability to put interactive mapping tools on. You can type your address and it would show you where the nearest hydrant is, where the nearest fire station is. You can click on those layers, and it can give an estimate travel time performance from the various stations. So you could even, say, pretend my station's busy. Where's the next one? Oh, well, mine's busy. I'm not 4 minutes. It's 8 minutes. Maybe that's why it's taking a little longer for me to get here. So there are those interactive mapping tools available.
Yeah, and I think if there's 12 to 16 minutes and there's a station, at least planned, where that may be to know that there's an improvement coming. But anyway, that's just.
Yeah, but the great thing is if you have an ISO reassessment, now you've got a plan and some performance standards that emergency services can use to show that the plan is here. It's been accepted by the board, and that would allow ISO to then give you credit for those planned improvements to the system. So it could raise your score, especially in those more rural areas.
I think the important part that you also brought out is that this is subject to be flexible based on how the county grows and evolves in the different areas. And so this, what looks like now could change a year from now or vice versa. So it's
Yes.
a fluid document.
I mean, where I was in Southlake, Texas, when Cooper and Stebbins showed up and said, we want to build this town square development, and it was a chicken farm at the time, it changed everything for us. Now we had hotels and movie theaters and a downtown shopping destination and all kinds of, so it's like, whoa, we got to protect that a little different than we did a chicken farm.
Right. Okay.
So same kind of thing. You never know when somebody's going to see a beautiful plot of land and go, I want to build this.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I'll make another one while
Go ahead.
While we're still here at lunch. It was interesting when you flashed it up there today, the response times in the urban areas as well as the rural. In my mind, I think the urban areas would be covered, but there was a lot of red in that 12 to 16-minute window.
So the other issue that happens in the urban areas, and you'll see it in the report, is what's called concurrent calls. So more than one is occurring at one time, and that causes a drawdown effect. So Smithfield's out on a call, and that station is not available. Somebody's got to come in and fill that when the second call happens or the third call happens. And I think you guys had several instances where there was 4 more calls occurring at the same time. So depending on where that next station is, so that's your actual system performance versus what's expected. So you'll see in the map what's expected based on the station layout looks a lot better than what you're actually seeing. And that only compounds itself as call demand increases and there's more concurrent calls occurring at one time.
I think you'll see that grow more and more. I know we do it much more now than we ever did in the past of having multiple calls back to back to back for stations. And emergency response is a first come, first served system. Ambulances, fire trucks, if it's out on a call, then it can't come. It's got to come from somewhere else. And so I think we all have to understand that. And that's why we continually try to increase the number of resources in the county to provide that extra layers of protection for the people as they have that need. So, any other questions or comments? If not, I'll Director Parker, if you've got anything you want to close on, thank you, sir, for being with us. We appreciate the study.
Thank you very much.
Do you have anything you want to add, or your staff, the fire marshal, anybody?
So I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to present this today. This information will be presented to the fire chiefs tonight at the fire commission meeting. And so we expect there to be some questions, comments, and I've already talked to Mr. Finn. If there's anything, comments, questions that come up, he said he stands ready to be able to answer any questions that may arise.
You know, several years ago, there was a move among the school system to try to standardize some of the schools. You know, the elementary schools all look the same. It saved, well, you begin to get some economies of scale with design and build. And I wonder if we could do that with the same thing with the fire stations. One fire station will look just like the other fire station. Don't think there is the number. You know?
I think that's a good opportunity to discuss.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing for EMS.
Yeah, same thing. Standardizing.
Well, EMS standardized many years ago as far as ambulances and equipment. If you get on one ambulance, you've gotten on all of them. So we did that 20 years ago. And so I think that's a great conversation to have. But the point is, you know, wherever, because back in the day, we used to do a lot of paramedic intercept. That's where ambulance is coming in, a paramedic would go out and meet them. That was before we were all paramedic countywide. But the important thing is we used the same type of cardiac monitors, we used the same type of equipment. The compartmentation in the back of the trucks was identical so that you don't have to spend time, you know, valuable life-saving time to search for a piece of equipment, you know where it's at. So I think that can be carried on, and I think, you know, even some of the fire departments have started doing more of that standardization so that, you know, compartmentalization, things like that.
It could be limited by site restraints, but other than that, it'd be good to have it all standardized.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very
Appreciate
much.
your patience.
All right, next item is delinquent tax report, and our tax administrator, Ms. Jocelyn Andrews, and Deputy County Manager. I'll ask her to come forth and present that information, please.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman,
Good afternoon.
Commissioners. Before you is the April tax collections report. We're winding down for the year. At this point, as you can see, we had a little less than 1.5 million left to go. We're moving. It's slower these days, but the number is still moving, and we've got basically 1 month from today, we're done for the fiscal year. Wanted to take this opportunity to let any of those that might be listening that today is also, with it being June 1st, statutorily, it is the last day to file for property tax relief. So if we have any citizens over 65 years of old and have income of less than $38,800, they can file for property tax relief on their primary residence. And I would encourage them to call our office, go online, do whatever, and get with us today, because today is the deadline for filing for the 2026 tax year. That also applies to folks that would be 100% military disabled. So they need to reach out to us, get that process started, and we'll go from there. So anyway, be happy to take any questions at this point.
I just want to reiterate those rules that you just said about tax relief are state mandated rules. Those
They are
are not,
state-driven.
we do not come up with those rules at the county level.
That is correct. They are state-driven, every
Thank
one of
you.
them. Yes, sir. And all 100 counties are supposed to be doing the exact same thing.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments for our tax administrator? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that. Next item on the agenda is manager reports and comments. Mr. Hester.
No report today. Thanks, sir.
All right. Before we move into board reports and comments, I wanted to recognize that Commissioner Pace Davis is not with us today. She's home taking care of her beautiful new twin daughters. So we're excited for her, and she's right where she needs to be. And we look forward to having her back, but I know she'll be back in due time. So with that being said, Commissioner Stevens, you want to start us off with board reports and comments?
A lot to comment on this morning. Obviously, budget season is always a busy time for everybody in the county. I'm just so grateful for the opportunities and so many local organizations that we have that we are able to partner with as a county, and to be able for not just us, but the citizens of the county to be able to hear truly what they do and learn more about these organizations and the way that that they work hand in hand with what we're already doing to support the county.
Thank you. Commissioner Rose?
Sometimes our comments are more personal in nature, and sometimes they're more business related. I'm going to use the personal time today and welcome my new grandson, Colton Michael Rose, that was born last week, and that's number 4. So I'm halfway to Commissioner Lauder's number, but that's 4 grandsons and 8 grandsons, 12 grandsons right here between 2 of us.
Congratulations.
Yep.
That's exciting.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Stovall?
I have nothing to add this morning, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Godwin.
Don't have any.
All right, Vice Chairman Lawler.
I have three things.
Okay.
One is just a reminder to the board about the NCACC legislative days coming up next week, the 9th and the 10th. Opportunity to spend a little time in Raleigh with the folks up there, expressing our concerns to them. Also, at the Campo meeting, it's open, I guess, August through October, is an opportunity to submit projects for funding in the process. So I know that we're going to have a meeting to try to look through those, and I'm assuming the Upper Coastal Plain RPO has a similar process. So looking to make sure now that we have a transportation plan that's updated, we can start putting in and see if we can get some funding for those. And I guess the third thing for me is grandson related, and I'm trying to get Ben to look up. Yeah. So.
I thought you were looking at me. I was like, I'm
Yeah, I was
very
looking at
excited
April.
about, yeah.
So this is my oldest grandson, Max, who is 12 today. So he was in Cincinnati. I don't know why he's wearing Cincinnati instead of Braves gear, but he's the first one and one of 8. So happy birthday, Max. Probably B told you I was going to get you on. So there you are. So happy birthday.
All right.
That's all.
That is awesome.
I did have one thing, Mr.
I'm
Chairman.
sorry, you've already missed your
Okay.
time. No, you go right ahead, Commissioner.
As a member of the Highway 70 Interstate 42 Corridor Commission, last week we had a meeting here in Johnston County. And, you know, over the years, this entire consortium of 5 counties has been trying to improve the connectivity of down east, from Moorhead to Raleigh. And funding is always the issue. And right now, you know, with bypass, we've done away with a lot of stoplights between those two ends. And last week, there were some discussions about a new funding source, which is very interesting, and that is using the resources, the land and locations for solar panels to raise money. Duke Energy is interested in it, as well as maybe any other power company. But if you think about it, instead of turning farmland into solar farms, put it up and down the same as the noise reduction walls along the roads, become solar farms. I think it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. So that's what we explored.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
I just want to say I appreciate everyone with the budget process today, and all the staff and the manager and everyone who's worked diligently to get us to that point. The budget is a complex process. As you can hear today, there's a lot of moving parts to it. It's not an easy thing to sit down and say, gosh, yeah, we'll just do that. There's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of things that have to be considered before we adopt a budget. And so we're still in that process. There's still a long way to go, but we'll have it wrapped up like we do every year. And we'll do our very best to provide a budget that will keep the services and the things that the people of Johnston County expect and need, keep them funded and keep them moving forward. So that being said, I will entertain there's not a need for a closed session, let me clarify. All right, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, let me say an aye.
Aye.
Board is adjourned.